Welcome to Sector 50. It is an absolute dump where the local kids spend their days digging through trash just to survive. While scavenging for scraps, two boys hear heavy footsteps approaching. A massive stone golem stomps into the alleyway. Now this big guy is basically a walking vending machine. You give him junk and he spits out food. One brave kid steps up and offers a flashlight demanding his daily bread. The golem scans the offering with its glowing red eyes and decides it is absolute garbage. It turns its back and casually walks away, leaving the kid screaming about how it accepted the exact same item yesterday. Talk about a picky eater. The kid is ready to throw hands with a literal boulder, but his buddy holds him back, warning him that the golem will absolutely crush them if provoked. Meanwhile, a mysterious hooded boy with silver hair has been chilling on a trash pile watching the whole embarrassing display. Deciding playtime is over, he leaps down from the rubble and lands right in the golem's path. Our white-haired protagonist steps right up to a massive stone golem and casually hands over a bag full of scrap metal. The giant robot happily accepts the offering and chugs the junk like it is a protein shake. The local scavengers watch in absolute shock as the golem repays our boy by raining down premium loot. We are talking fresh bread, canned goods, and bottled water. The peanut gallery immediately starts mauling over his insane drop rates, calculating that he just scored a 3-day food supply. Naturally, the haters start plotting to jump him for his stash as he casually strolls away. He heads deep into the ruined alleyways of Sector 50, completely unbothered by the sketchy environment. But it does not take long for the local bottom feeders to make their move, creeping up behind him with all the stealth of a herd of elephants. Our boy stops dead in his tracks. He does not even need to look back to clock exactly 7 bozos tailing him. He tells them to quit hiding and show themselves. Right on cue, a squad of dollar store thugs steps out of the shadows, led by a stocky guy rocking brass knuckles who actually thinks they were being stealthy. The stocky thug thinks he has the upper hand with his shiny new brass knuckles, but our hooded boy just sighs. He stares right through the guy and reminds him of a very clear warning he gave him last time. If he ever showed his ugly mug again, he would be leaving in a wheelchair. The thug laughs it off and demands the bag of loot. He promises to let our boy walk away safe and sound if he just hands over the goods. But the kid immediately calls cap on that little promise. He knows full well these guys have zero intention of letting him leave in one piece. You see, there is a local legend around these parts. They say a silent white ghost haunts the 17th Street, a phantom that travels without a single sound, and whatever you do, you absolutely cannot look into its glowing eyes. The thug's hand starts shaking like a leaf as the sheer aura of our boy hits him. But instead of backing down like a rational person, he completely crashes out. He charges forward with a wild haymaker and screams at the top of his lungs. Meanwhile, our boy just stands there, completely unbothered by the incoming fist. The stocky leader charges in swinging, but our silver-haired boy just casually tilts his head. The thug completely whiffs his punch and stumbles forward right into the danger zone. Our boy plants his foot and gets ready to deliver some instant karma. He grabs the guy by the collar and introduces his fist to the thug's face with a devastating crunch. The leader hits the dirt, completely knocked out and drooling, while his gang watches their boss get folded like a lawn chair. Seeing their fearless leader get one-shotted does not sit well with the peanut gallery. They start screaming and hyping each other up to jump him. The whole squad charges forward with their weapons raised, but our guy just stands there completely unbothered. One brave idiot swings a metal baseball bat straight at his head. Our boy just smoothly ducks under the swing and counters with a brutal uppercut right to the jaw. Our boy doesn't even break a sweat. He ducks under a wild swing and delivers a devastating counter right to the guy's jaw. Blood goes flying and the rest of the gang can only watch in absolute shock as their buddy gets folded like a lawn chair. The kid just stands there with his eyes glowing blue, looking completely unbothered by the violence. He casually mentions that bringing more bodies to the floor won't change the outcome. Ron is absolutely terrified now. He is missing a tooth and sweating bullets, calling our guy a monster while desperately scooting backward on the dirt. He begs the kid to stay away, but the white-haired menace just keeps walking forward. Pulling down his hood, he coldly reminds Ron about their little agreement. He promised to make sure the thug would never walk again, and it is time to collect. Cornered and desperate, Ron pulls a hidden switchblade from behind his back. He lunges forward, screaming at the monster to back off. But our boy just stares down the blade without blinking. Catching his own reflection in the steel, he actually agrees with the monster title. A flashback hits, taking us back to when he was 10 years old. He realized pretty early on that he was built different. Walking around with a massive bloody gash on his leg, he did not shed a single tear, leaving the other kids completely horrified. Flashback time. Even as a kid, our boy was built different. While the other street rats are crying over their dead buddy and throwing tantrums about getting kicked off their turf, our guy is just standing there with a blank stare. He does not shed a single tear. The other kids call him a freak and ditch him in the dirt. Sitting alone in the rubble, he realizes he literally lacks the hardware for human emotion. He wonders if he is broken. But fast forward 6 years and he has figured out a neat little party trick. He might be dead inside, but he can read other people like an open book. Back in the present, he calls out the thug for breaking the street's golden rule of no blades. The guy stutters out a pathetic lie about finding the knife in the trash. But our boy's eyes lock onto his chest and he sees right through the cap. He literally sees a swirling black vortex of fear and deceit sitting right inside the dude's ribcage. Turns out our emotionless protagonist has a built-in mood ring radar. He sees the world in a spectrum of mana that normal people are completely blind to. Red mana flares up for anger and hate, blue sparks for apathy and ridicule, yellow bursts out for joy and excitement, and there is a whole galaxy of other colors painting the world around him. Our boy stands tall on the wreckage and declares that his world is bursting with color. He can literally see the emotional mana swirling inside people like a mood ring on steroids. Take this thug for example. He points his little pocket knife and threatens to stab our guy if he takes another step, but his chest is practically overflowing with the pitch-black mana of absolute terror. He scrambles backward until he hits a dead end, sweating bullets and shaking like a leaf. Our white-haired menace just stares down at the pathetic display. He tells the trembling thug that a liar like him deserves a little punishment. His eyes glow a piercing blue as he reaches out to deliver some much-needed karma. Our boy trudges through the pouring rain and ducks under a bridge. He pulls back his hood to reveal that signature white hair. He is immediately greeted by Pale, the leader of the underpass orphans, right before a squad of tiny children tackle him in a massive group hug. The crew gathers around a lantern to check out their daily haul. It is looking incredibly bleak. Just a single potato and a few measly coins to split among 7 hungry mouths. The vibes are absolutely in the trenches. Sensing the heavy depression in the room, our guy casually drops a massive bag of premium snacks and drinks right in the middle of the floor. The kids lose their minds, asking if he actually managed to trade with the wandering stone golem. Since the golem only accepts items with residual mana, you literally cannot trade with it unless you have magic eyes like our boy. Pale claps his hands and starts handing out the feast, making sure the youngest gets first dibs. But while the orphans are distracted by the sudden buffet, our lone wolf quietly slips right back out into the shadows. Our boy is out here brooding in the rain like a true edgelord. He knows the meager scraps they just scraped together will not feed 7 mouths. He stares into the puddles and wonders if he needs to hit up the local warehouse for a 5-finger discount. Why does he care so much about these random street urchins anyway? Well, cut to a year ago and our guy was literally a human popsicle buried in the snow. He was fully ready to clock out for good until this exact group of kids dug him out and saved his life. Snapping back to the present, our white-haired protagonist stares into the abyss. He operates on a strict code of conduct. If you cross him, you get put in the dirt, but if you do him a solid, he will pay that debt back with interest. Just then the dark-haired leader of the kids pops his head out and tells him to come get his cut of the rations. Our boy tries to play it cool and claims he is not hungry, but his stomach immediately betrays him with a loud rumble. The kid just laughs and plops down right next to him. Without missing a beat, the kid snaps his rock-hard ration biscuit in half and holds out the bigger piece with a massive grin. He insists they share it because that is just the kind of wholesome guy he is. The dark-haired kid drops some world-building lore. He explains that the toxic black rain is just nasty runoff from mages flexing way too much magic down in the bougie lower-numbered sectors. He totally geeks out while munching on a rock-hard biscuit. He is absolutely convinced that the wandering scrap golem they traded with earlier is powered by that exact same magic. Our boy silently agrees. He already gave the golem an ocular pat-down and noticed how it sucks up all the colorful surrounding mana into its core like a giant magical vacuum cleaner. But enough lore-dropping for one night. Ray suddenly stands up and throws his hood on. He tells his buddy to watch the river before casually sprinting straight out into the deadly toxic downpour. The kid is left behind stressing out over his friend having zero self-preservation skills. Our boy hits the pavement heading straight for the 18th Street District. The locals are terrified of this black rain since a single drop can supposedly make you sick. But our guy is built different. He just casually throws up a mana shield to keep himself dry and uses the empty streets to his advantage. He arrives at the Limpfoot Hector ration warehouse. Since it is pouring outside, the guards are completely slacking off. They are inside betting their life savings on a card game while our boy scopes out the perimeter. He slips through the fence and drops into the storage yard. It is pitch black back here among the crates. But that is no problem for a walking cheat code. He just pulls in some of the ambient mana floating around the alley and mixes up the specific colors he needs. His eyes glow red as he casually conjures a mini campfire right in the palm of his hand. Using his new DIY flashlight, he digs through the boxes and hits the jackpot with a stash of canned rations. Our boy is just trying to grab some grub and practice his fire magic when a flying dagger nearly gives him an unwanted ear piercing. He ducks behind some boxes, realizing he walked right into an ambush. 3 goons are lurking in the dark, and they know exactly where he is. These guys are rocking some serious night vision goggles and think they have the upper hand. They start chucking knives like it is a circus act. But our silver-haired protagonist is built different. His eyes glow blue and he dodges the incoming blades with some serious ninja reflexes. The goon is absolutely flabbergasted by the kid's speed. Before he can even process the situation, our boy is already closing the distance to deliver a swift beatdown. Our boy closes the distance in a flash and drops the first goon with a clean right hook. The other 2 are left standing there looking like they just saw a ghost. which to be fair, they kind of did. His eye flares up, reading their swirling mana. One is pure rage and the other is just straight up surprised. They rush him anyway. Goggles Guy swings his knife, telling our boy to stop acting tough, but our silver-haired menace just casually deflects the blade. He is not even breaking a sweat. By tracking the flow of mana through the guy's arteries, he reads his next move like an open book. He ducks under the swing and plants a spinning back kick right into the dude's chest. The goon is absolutely flabbergasted, screaming that it is impossible. But before he can even process the L he is taking, our boy follows up with a glowing fist, slamming him straight into the concrete. And just like that, all three guards are taking a dirt nap. Easy work for the ghost. Our boy stands over the unconscious guards, but his victory lap is cut short when the door gets kicked off its hinges. Ray glances back as a massive dude steps into the light, complaining about the noise. Enter Humphrey, an executive for the Hector Group. He facepalms when he realizes his three goons just got packed up by a literal child. The big guy clenches his fist as lightning starts crackling behind him, absolutely furious that a little rat just wiped his squad. A massive bald dude steps into the warehouse and realizes his three goons just got packed up by a literal child. This is Humphrey, an executive for the Hector Group, and he is absolutely fuming. Our boy peeks out from his hood and instantly knows the rumors about this guy's terrifying aura are completely true. Deciding offense is the best defense, the kid launches himself off the floor and throws a desperate right hook straight into the giant's chest. But it is like punching a literal brick wall. The executive does not even flinch. The kid's eyes widen as the bald menace casually tells him to dodge and swings a massive backhand that could probably decapitate a horse. Our boy barely leans back in time, letting the shockwave blow past him as he skids across the concrete. The giant rubs his chest and admits the little rat is actually pretty fast. But he does not give him a single second to breathe. The executive immediately lunges forward with another devastating hook. The kid drops into a defensive stance, his instincts screaming at him that one clean hit will send him straight to the afterlife. He weaves under another wild swing as the giant unleashes an absolute flurry of heavy strikes, forcing our boy to play the most stressful game of dodgeball ever just to stay alive. The big bald executive is absolutely fuming and swings a massive haymaker right at our boy. Ray barely ducks under the strike, realizing he absolutely cannot take this absolute unit head on. But our silver-haired protagonist is not just fast, he calculates the big guy's blind spots and slips right into his guard, aiming a glowing fist straight for his chest. Ray channels a concentrated burst of fire magic right into his palm and blasts the executive point blank. The big guy gasps in shock and stumbles back, clutching his smoking chest. With the boss temporarily stunned, Ray dips out into the pouring rain. The warehouse guards are already swarming the alleyways screaming for his head, while our boy quietly hides in the shadows behind a fence. He takes off sprinting through the mud as the goons chase him down. Ray knows he just robbed the infamous Hector Group blind, and if they catch him, he is completely cooked. Our boy books it through the rain. He knows if he kicks the bucket tonight, those underpass kids who saved his life are totally screwed. He owes them way too much to just die in some muddy alley. But his luck runs out fast. One of the blue suit goons spots him. Our silver-haired thief tries to lose them, but accidentally corners himself in a dead end. The thugs close in with knives drawn. They demand he cough up the stolen loot before they give him a brand new breathing hole. But our boy realizes the big boss is nowhere in sight. If it is just these low-level scrubs, he can absolutely take them. His mana flares up in a bright red aura. One of the goons charges in swinging and completely underestimates the kid. Ray casually swats the knife away and delivers a brutal counterpunch straight to the guy's face. Blood goes flying everywhere. Our boy is not about to let some random NPC poke holes in him. He catches the attacker's arm with a glowing red grip and delivers a swift counterpunch that sends the goon flying. The guy is absolutely baffled by his raw strength, but our protagonist does not give him time to process it. He charges up a handful of crackling lightning magic and blasts the dude right in the face. The crispy critter hits the deck smoking like a cheap cigar. But our boy hears more shouts approaching and realizes his mana pool is running dry. He needs a hiding spot fast and locks eyes with a prime piece of alleyway real estate. The rest of the corporate goons sprint right past the dead end, screaming about how they cannot lose him. Meanwhile, our silver-haired menace is chilling inside a literal dumpster. He listens as their footsteps fade away and realizes his garbage camouflage worked perfectly. With the toxic black rain pouring down outside, he decides this trash heap is his 5-star hotel for the night. He closes his eyes and drifts off to sleep, wondering when the storm will finally pass. Morning rolls around and our boy wakes up from his 5-star dumpster hotel. He hops out with his trusty shank ready, figuring the coast is completely clear by now. But he thought wrong. A voice calls out from the alleyway. One of the blue suit goons actually doubled back. The guy flashes a psycho smile, and thanks to our boy's magic eyes, he can see the dude's chest glowing bright red with pure unadulterated rage. Our boy drops into a stance, but he is sweating a bit since his mana tank is still running on fumes. The goon mocks his little pocket knife and decides playtime is over. He launches himself forward with a crazy look in his eye, screaming that he is going to end this right now. Our boy easily weaves past the first sloppy thrust, but this guy is absolutely tweaking. His eyes glow red as he immediately follows up with a massive sweeping slash. Our boy barely ducks under the blade, but the muddy ground betrays him and he completely loses his balance. The angry suit lunges down for the kill. Our boy loses his balance and just watches the blade drop straight toward his face. It is literally inches from his eyeball. Suddenly, a massive gunshot rings out. Fresh blood splatters all over our boy's cheek as the attacker instantly drops dead behind him. Talk about a lucky break. Standing at the end of the alley is a dark-haired guy holding a smoking pistol. He flashes a cocky grin like he just hit a trick shot. He casually sparks up a cigarette and holsters his piece. Enter Niles. He is the boss of 17th Street, and he just wants to know who is making all this racket before he has even had his morning coffee. The dark-haired guy strolls up to our boy standing over his fresh victim and casually points out that was a pretty dangerous stunt. Our boy just wipes the blood off his face and agrees. Meet Niles, the boss of 17th Street. Niles spots the stash of canned goods stuffed in the kid's coat and asks if he swiped those from Hector's crew. Our boy just hits him with a deadpan thanks. Niles leans in to clarify that absolutely was not a compliment. Our boy stares back with his magic eyes. He notices the boss is one of those rare guys whose emotions are so flat that his mana vessel never really fills up. Niles warns him that messing with the wrong people is a quick way to get packed up. But our boy just shrugs it off. If he does not steal, he and the kids starve anyway. The boss chuckles and claims they are finally even for that time the kid saved his life. But our boy is not having it. He bluntly states he only fished him out of the river because he thought he was free supplies. Turns out a year ago, our boy dragged a half-dead Niles out of the trash water. The guy used to be a big-shot executive before getting betrayed. Since then, Niles taught the kid how to actually throw a punch instead of just flailing around. The boss crushes his cigarette as our boy finally brings up that old offer about joining his syndicate. Our boy tries to flip the script and asks about the boss's old gang. The suit guy just turns his back and starts walking away. Out of nowhere, he drops an absolute bomb. He casually asks if the kid can use magic. The white-haired kid is completely shook. He demands to know what this guy actually knows about the arcane arts. The boss takes a drag of his cigarette and admits he only picked up a few scraps of info from a mage in his old gang. Just basic stuff like mana existing in the air. This catches our boy's attention. He immediately asks if that old mage ever mentioned anything about seeing colors, because right now the kid is staring straight at the boss and seeing a massive swirling rainbow of mana radiating off him. He is seriously questioning his own eyesight right now. The boss gets instantly annoyed by the kid zoning out and threatens to smack him. He throws a wild punch, but our boy just casually leans back and dodges it with zero effort. The suit guy is fuming and accuses the brat of dodging just to flex on him. Getting back to business, the boss leans against the wall and demands an answer to his previous job offer. He stares up at the sky and drops some geography knowledge. He explains that if you follow the river upstream, you can actually escape these trash slums and reach the high-class sectors. He looks the kid dead in the eyes and says it would be an absolute waste for someone with his crazy magic abilities to just rot and die in this dump. The boss asks if our boy has ever thought about leaving this dump of a sector. He even offers to hook him up with a ride out of town, but the kid shuts him down instantly since he has a whole squad of orphans to feed. The boss just laughs and ruffles his hair, saying he plans to start an orphanage to snatch kids right off the street. Our boy peeks at his mana vessel and notices his colors are super thin. He cannot tell if the guy is capping, but figures he is probably telling the truth. Changing the subject, the kid warns the boss to watch his back. He spills the tea that the rival gang is gearing up for an all-out turf war and has been receiving literal truckloads of heavy weaponry. But the boss just hits him with a finger gun and says he already knows. Using live rounds in the slums is a guaranteed declaration of war. The kid casually mentions that the boss actually has pretty reasonable protection fees for a mobster. The boss scoffs and says it only looks that way because everyone else is so much worse. He then gets super triggered when the kid treats him like a boomer, complaining that he is not even married yet. He swings a punch out of pure annoyance, but our boy easily dodges the slow-motion attack. Right on cue, a slick black car rolls up to extract the boss. He tells his driver it is time to bounce and warns the kid to find a new hideout because these streets are about to turn into an active war zone. Before dipping out, he tosses a little parting gift. Our boy catches it and realizes it is a medical ampoule to patch up his busted ear. The boss tosses our boy a medical ampoule and tells him to sanitize his ear before peeling out. Our white-haired protagonist just stands there in the dust and watches his ride disappear. Back at the gloomy 17th Street Square, a familiar kid spots our boy and comes running. He is practically in tears, asking where he was all night and who beat him up. Our boy just pulls his edgy cloak tight and brushes it off as nothing. But internally, he is fascinated by the swirling, colorful, emotional aura radiating from the kid's chest. He hands over the canned goods he scored and tells the kid to run them back to the tent. The kid immediately sprints off to deliver the loot. Left alone with the elderly blind storyteller named Viola, our boy asks if she has been filling the kids' heads with nonsense again. She smiles and admits she was just telling them about rainbows. He warns her that feeding them fairy tales will just make it harder for them to survive these harsh streets. But she claps back, asking who else is going to hold on to fantasies if not the children. Our boy's eyes glow as he stares at her. He notices a strange deep purple mana swirling around the old woman. It is a completely unique emotion he has never seen in anyone else before, and he has absolutely no idea what it means. Our boy warns the old lady to pack up before the turf war kicks off. As he dips out, she thinks to herself about what a sweet kid he is. If only she knew he just crippled a guy a few hours ago. The next morning, our silver-haired hustler is back on his grind, dropping off a delivery at a local shop. The owner is confused since a local thug was supposed to handle the route. Our boy just keeps a straight face, knowing full well that guy is currently enjoying 2 freshly shattered kneecaps. He tells the shopkeeper to pack his bags and evacuate because a literal war is about to pop off right outside his front door. The guy refuses to abandon his livelihood and casually mentions that the local boss is actually having a little chat in the back room right now. Right on cue, the door swings open and out walks the rival boss Hector, flanked by his blue suit goons. Hector spots our boy holding down the fort and is honestly impressed. He praises the kid for putting in the elbow grease while all the grown adults are busy running for the hills. He gives him a solid shoulder pat and tosses him a fat tip for the hustle, telling him that is exactly how you survive in the slums. The rival crew heads for the exit, leaving the shopkeeper sweating bullets. But right before they leave, the big bald executive shoots a nasty glare over his shoulder. He definitely recognizes the kid who just roasted him with magic last night. A quick zoom on our boy's bandaged ear reveals a massive problem. The bald executive from last night turns around and locks eyes with him. Our silver-haired protagonist pulls down his hood in pure shock. He knows he just got caught in 4K. The scarred giant glares right back at him. But before the big guy can throw hands, his boss calls him out to the car. He obediently dips out, leaving the shopkeeper to breathe a massive sigh of relief. Our boy touches his bandaged ear in total confusion. The executive definitely recognized the wound from their fight, so why did he just walk away without snitching? The shopkeeper rushes back inside to check on the situation, only to freeze in his tracks. The dark-haired boss of 17th Street is chilling on a table with a fresh cigarette. He looks dead serious as he drops the ultimate bombshell. The negotiations completely failed, and now there will be war. The boss man takes a drag of his cigarette and drops the bomb. There is going to be a war. His buddy is absolutely losing it over the enemy's ridiculous demands to absorb their entire crew. The boss rubs his temples and tells our stoic little protagonist to stay put in his hideout until the dust settles. But obviously, our boy is not about to just sit around and twiddle his thumbs. He hits the streets knowing he needs to stock up on food before the entire sector turns into a literal war zone. Suddenly, a sleek black whip comes speeding down the alleyway. Our boy catches a quick glimpse of the driver and immediately recognizes the bald, scarred meathead from the warehouse. A fancy ride like that is way too suspicious for a dump like Sector 50, so he decides to do a little snooping. He tails the car all the way to the enemy gates and hides in the bushes to see who the VIP is. A scarred goon opens the door and out steps a guy looking like a straight-up supervillain, complete with a fancy suit and a cane. The goons call him a mage, which immediately sets off some major alarm bells. Our boy is hiding in the bushes playing Peeping Tom when he spots a new player on the board. He takes one look at this guy and immediately notices a ridiculously massive pool of dark blue mana swirling around him. It is almost pitch black and looks exactly like the energy that powers those giant stone golems. Ray flips on his magic eyes and sees these crazy orbital rings locking the mana inside the guy's vessel. It is like a containment field keeping a nuclear bomb from going off. Our boy instantly realizes this suit guy is bad news and decides he needs to warn his boss Niles immediately. Meanwhile, over at the 17th Street compound, the boys are gearing up for all-out war. They are unloading crates of assault rifles and rushing to get their defenses ready before the rival gang pulls up. One of the guards is trying to manage the chaos when Ray just casually spawns right behind him like a horror movie villain. The poor guy nearly jumps out of his skin and demands to know how a random kid snuck into a lockdown military base. Ray just deadpans that the front gate was wide open. The guard tries to shoo him away since the boss is out prepping for the bloodbath and this is no place for a kid, but Ray ignores the dismissal and orders the guy to pass a very important message along to Niles. Our boy wants to warn his boss about the creepy monocle guy, but for now he heads back to the hideout. The little ones are huddled up sleeping, while our white-haired protagonist and his buddy sit out in the rain. His friend asks who is going to win this turf war, and our boy admits it is a toss-up. But he knows their side has to take the win, because if the other guys win, these kids are getting sold off for quick cash. Their brooding session gets cut short by a massive explosion echoing through the streets. The boys jump up in a panic, and our guy instantly knows things just went completely sideways. Cut to the front lines, where a couple of guards are desperately unloading their clips into a giant stone golem. Yeah, bullets against solid rock, great strategy, guys. The golem just tanks the shots, charges up a massive blue laser beam, and absolutely vaporizes one of the poor dudes into a pair of smoking boots. The remaining guard is absolutely bricking it as he stares up at a literal mountain of rock. The golem doesn't even blink before bringing its massive foot down and turning the poor guy into a human pancake. Blood splatters everywhere, but the fancy suit guy with the monocle just pops his umbrella and complains about the sewer smell. He proudly pats his bloody rock monster on the back like it is a good boy and orders his lackey to scrub the crime scene. Down in the underpass, our boy and his dark-haired buddy hear the absolute chaos echoing from above. The kid knows something is seriously wrong and grabs our boy's sleeve, begging to tag along if he is heading into the danger zone. But our boy shuts that down immediately and tells him to stay put. Right on cue, one of the little ones wakes up rubbing his eyes and asking what all the noise is about. The older kid quickly plays the responsible dad role and pats him back to sleep. He realizes he cannot just leave the toddlers defenseless in a war zone, so he agrees to hold down the fort while our boy goes to investigate. Our boy tells his buddy to stay put and keep the kids safe while he checks out the commotion. But stepping out into the open, he is greeted by absolute carnage. The streets are literally on fire and littered with the bodies of his allies. Just a casual stroll through a literal war zone. He spots one guy barely clinging to life and asks what the hell happened. The bloody survivor spits out the grim truth. Hector's goons brought a massive golem to the fight, and it was being controlled by some creepy dude rocking a monocle. They never stood a chance against that kind of heavy artillery. The soldier completely breaks down, crying as he collapses into the bloody mud. Seeing his allies getting absolutely slaughtered flips a switch in our boy. He draws his dagger with a cold glare. If his side loses this turf war, the street kids are totally screwed. It is time for the white ghost to crash this party and do some serious damage. Our boy realizes his side is getting absolutely cooked out here. He draws his dagger and sprints toward the front lines to bail out his boss. But back at the bridge, things have gone from bad to a literal nightmare. The dark-haired kid from the underpass is on his knees sobbing over the lifeless body of the youngest girl. The entire squad of street kids has been wiped out. He looks up in absolute terror as that massive stone golem looms right over him. The giant charges up a blinding blue energy blast and prepares to finish the job. As the blinding light consumes the bridge, the kid sheds tears of blood and begs our boy to stay far away from this massacre. Our boy finally makes it to the central plaza, but it is an absolute bloodbath. He realizes he is way too late to the party. He checks the bodies scattered around the burning rubble and confirms they belong to the local boss's crew. But there is a silver lining. He cannot find the boss's corpse anywhere in this mess. Just as he starts hoping the guy made it out alive, a massive explosion rocks the area. Ray snaps his head back and realizes the blast came from the direction of the main tent. He does not waste a single second and immediately sprints toward the chaos. He hauls ass through the ruined streets as the toxic black rain starts pouring down. His boots splash through the puddles as he pushes his body to the absolute limit. Our guy is panting heavily, but he refuses to slow down. He finally reaches the stone bridge and stops dead in his tracks. Standing right there in the downpour is a massive stone golem absolutely drenched in fresh blood. Ray stares in pure horror as the reality of the slaughter sets in. But our boy does not just stand there trembling. He leaps straight into the air and channels a massive burst of fire magic. He dives right at the giant indestructible monster, ready to turn this walking boulder into gravel. Our boy tries to play hero and dive bombs the giant monster, but gets absolutely swatted out of the sky like a pesky mosquito. The impact sends him flying backward with a mouthful of blood. He crashes hard into the stone plaza and shatters the ground beneath him. Slumped in the crater and coughing up a lung, he tries to force himself up to check on his friends. But right as his vision blurs, he hears a familiar voice calling out his name. His mind flashes back to the underpass. He remembers the smiling faces of the street kids who saved his life running up to greet him after a long day of trading. They were his only real family in this dump. But the warm memory twists into a total nightmare. The leader of the kids smiles and tells him he never wanted him to come back. Reality snaps back in, and our boy is forced to look at the absolute massacre around him. Every single one of those sweet kids is lying dead in a pool of their own blood. The memory fades to the horrific reality. The kids who took him in, Leia, Corden, Miles, Josephine, Pale, all of them lying lifeless in the mud. Our boy reaches out a trembling hand. He stumbles through the rain. He never even got to pay them back for saving his life. The weight of it all crushes him, and he drops to his knees right in the middle of the carnage. But he does not get a single second to grieve. That familiar hum of mana fills the air. He looks up to see the massive stone golem charging up a dark energy blast right in front of him. The realization hits him like a truck. This is the monster that did it. It wiped out the underpass kids. It slaughtered Niles and his entire crew. Everyone on the street is just gone. The grief instantly morphs into pure unadulterated rage. His eyes glow with fury as he vows to avenge every single one of them. The golem prepares to fire, but our boy forces his battered body to stand. A fierce blue aura erupts around him as he prepares to throw down. Just as our boy is about to get flattened into a pancake, a freaking sedan comes flying out of nowhere and T-bones the rock monster. The golem gets sent skidding across the pavement like a skipped stone. The driver door pops open and out jumps the boss man himself. He sprints over to our silver-haired kid and checks him over for broken bones. He breathes a massive sigh of relief when he realizes the kid is still in one piece. But then he spots the kid's bloody hands. The boss looks up and finally takes in the absolute massacre around them. The bodies of his men and the kids from the underpass are just scattered everywhere. He clenches his fist as the guilt hits him like a truck. Standing in the pouring rain, he looks down at the kid and apologizes for being too late. Our boy just looks up with tears streaming down his face and asks why the boss is blaming himself. The boss cannot even form words. He just drops to his knees and pulls the kid into a desperate hug. Niles grips the kid's shoulder tightly. Sitting in the freezing rain, our boy asks the boss about his missing crew. Niles is completely stressed out, cursing Hector for having the absolute audacity to hire outside mages for a simple turf war. Ray looks up, wondering what their next move even is. The boss tries to play the hero, telling the kid he is going to head back to the streets to search for any survivors. But before he can even take a single step, a massive beam of blue energy blasts straight through his chest. Ray's eyes widen in absolute horror. The indestructible stone golem is looming right behind them, reaching out to claim its next victim. Niles just stands there with a literal glowing crater in his torso. Our boy is completely frozen, unable to process the nightmare unfolding right in front of his face. But instead of screaming, the boss just gives him a weak, bloody smile. He collapses forward, pulling Ray into one last hug as his life fades away. Ray catches him, his hands instantly covered in blood as he feels the massive hole in his mentor's back. His mind completely short-circuits, desperately trying to figure out how everything went so wrong. Our boy's mind flashes back to the good times, training sessions, sharing donuts, and Niles smiling like the proud dad he never had. But those warm memories are instantly incinerated, replaced by the burning core of the monster that just took everything from him. Ray stands up, his back to the flames. He channels his mana, his hand glowing with intense blue energy. His eye flashes a demonic red as he makes a simple, terrifying promise. He is going to kill every last one of them. The rain is pouring down on the ruined streets as our boy cradles his mentor's bleeding body. He is practically begging for this to just be a bad nightmare he can wake up from. But the cold, hard reality is staring him right in the face, and it does not care about his feelings. That reality is a giant stone golem ready to finish the job. The monster reaches out to crush them both into paste. But our white-haired protagonist is not going down without a fight. He raises a blood-soaked hand and channels every ounce of his fresh trauma into a blazing sphere of red fire while the golem charges up a massive blast of blue energy. The golem unleashes a devastating pillar of destruction straight down, but our boy fires back with an explosive torrent of flames right back up at it. His eyes glow with a fierce pink light as the two elemental forces collide in a blinding flash. The sheer power of his fiery counterattack erupts into a massive inferno that completely engulfs the area. Our boy lowers his smoking hand as the dust settles. He just turned the entire alleyway into a literal floor of lava with that massive blast. But there is no time to celebrate surviving a giant rock monster. He drops down and frantically shakes his bleeding mentor. The boss coughs up blood and tells the kid to chill out because he is already dying and the aggressive shaking is definitely not helping. Lying in the rubble of his ruined territory, the boss stares up at the dark sky. He always knew his criminal lifestyle would not end with a peaceful retirement in a rocking chair, but he really did not expect to get packed up by a giant laser beam today. Our boy stares down in absolute shock. He wonders if he could have changed this tragic outcome if he had just fought a little harder earlier on. The dying man weakly grabs his student's arm with a blood-soaked glove. Flashing a tragic smile, he tells the kid to get out of this cursed city and find somewhere better to live. He always treated the emotionless kid like a little brother. In a bittersweet flashback, the boss pats his head and drops some final wisdom. He tells our boy to keep swimming upstream and never let the rapids drag him under. The bloody grip slips. Our boy's mentor is gone, leaving him alone in the pitch-black rain with nothing but a corpse and a whole lot of trauma. The guy actually dies with a peaceful smile on his face, which honestly just makes it worse. The white-haired kid is absolutely shattered. He tilts his head back and lets out a gut-wrenching scream. For a guy who literally could not feel emotions his entire life, this is one hell of a first time. Cut to the aftermath. He wakes up under a grimy overpass looking like he just went 10 rounds with a freight train. He groans and clutches his busted arm, probably wishing he could just hit snooze on reality. He stares at his hand, hoping it was all just a really messed up dream. But nope. The memories of the slaughtered kids, his mentor getting absolutely blasted by a laser beam, and that giant rocky Terminator are burned into his brain. His emotions are completely spiraling. But something else is different now. He closes his eyes and taps into that fresh, boiling rage. A massive ball of fire erupts right in the palm of his hand. Turns out unlocking the Trauma DLC also gave his magic a massive buff. Our boy sits alone in the rubble testing out his brand new emotional baggage. He realizes that the angrier he gets, the hotter his flames burn. But channeling all that fresh trauma gives him a massive migraine, so he snuffs it out. He locks in with a cold stare. Standing over the makeshift mass grave of his only friends, he decides it is officially time to crash out. He throws his hood up and walks away with absolute murder in his eyes. Out in the central square, the Hector Group goons are already forcing the locals to clean up their mess. The thugs are busy gloating about their big win and how they run the streets now. But our hooded menace is already lurking in the shadows, locking onto his first targets. He draws his glowing dagger ready to go to work. One of the guards makes the fatal mistake of grabbing his shoulder to ask him a question. Our boy does not hesitate for a single second. He spins around and instantly slices a massive red arc right through the big guy's throat. Our boy doesn't waste a single second. He locks onto the bald executive, draws his dagger and lunges forward with pure murderous intent. He decides right then and there that the entire Hector group needs to be put in the dirt. The big guy gets sliced up before he can even blink. He is completely baffled by these insane movements. He realizes our white-haired protagonist is way stronger than their last encounter. The executive starts sweating bullets, knowing he is going to get packed up if he doesn't do something fast. But the bald dude isn't an executive for nothing. He manages to land a solid counterattack right on our boy's shoulder. The kid is thrown back, totally caught off guard by the hit. Before he can recover, the big guy closes the distance and grabs him by the collar. He slams the kid down and tells him that throwing his life away over something as trivial as revenge is a rookie mistake. He finally calls him out by his street name, the Ghost of the 17th Street. Pinning him by the throat, the executive looks down and says he actually has a business proposition for him. The bald executive pins our boy down and tells him not to throw his life away on a useless revenge quest. He calls him out by his street name and says he has a proposition. Dragging him up against the wall, the big guy admits he has been watching the kid for a while and begs him to just hear him out. Our boy narrows his eyes. This dude is known as Silent Humphrey because he is a ruthless company man who gets the job done, but right now, he is sweating bullets and looking completely desperate. The kid realizes he is actually telling the truth. When asked for his reasons, the bald guy spills the tea. Turns out his boss Hector sold his little brother off to the city of mages years ago. He has been working as Hector's attack dog this whole time just to buy back the info on where his brother is. The kid is still skeptical until the big guy drops a bomb. He knows our boy can use magic. He pulls back his collar to show off the nasty burn mark he caught during their warehouse brawl. He warns the kid that even with those shiny new powers, he stands absolutely zero chance against Hector right now. The bald executive warns our boy that his target keeps a terrifying mage by his side. He shudders as he remembers the guy's pitch-black mana calling him a straight-up demon. This cruel magic user is the type to freeze a dude solid just because he woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or drown a guy by spawning a water bubble right over his head. He tells the kid to bounce for now so he can actually survive long enough to get his revenge. Our hooded protagonist knows he is right. He has only ever used magic on pure intuition, so fighting an actual expert right now is basically a death sentence. He remembers hearing rumors about a hidden city of mages located upstream of the Elton River where only magic users are allowed to enter. The bald guy suddenly tosses over a heavy pouch containing his entire life savings. The kid is stunned and asks why he is trusting him with all this cash when he could just easily run off with it. But the executive just smiles softly, remembering a dark-haired man who once believed in him. He knows our boy is skilled enough to make it to a higher-level sector. The kid's eye glows with a fierce red intensity. The bald guy panics and says the rest of the gang will be here any second, so he needs an answer right now. Our boy finally agrees but says he has one condition before he takes the job. Our boy accepts the bald guy's deal but slaps down one major condition. He demands the executive clean up all the bodies left at the underpass. The scarred giant gives a confident smirk and seals the pact. With the terms locked in, the hooded youth dips out of the alleyway. He promises he will be back and leaves the bald powerhouse standing alone in the cobblestone street. Ray sprints through the ruined sector until his lungs absolutely burn. He stops by an abandoned building to catch his breath and make sure he lost any potential tails. Satisfied he is in the clear, he approaches a familiar blind beggar sitting by a wooden door. He tosses a coin into her tin can to buy her attention. He tells the old woman he is on a massive time crunch and needs a straight answer right now. She just smiles warmly and asks what is on his mind. Staring her down with those intense glowing eyes, he asks if the old bedtime stories are actually true. He desperately needs to know if finding a rainbow really grants a person a wish. This triggers a bittersweet flashback to his childhood. A younger kid asks him what a rainbow even is before excitedly answering his own question. The kid describes it as a massive colorful band that shows up after the rain, basically a giant frosted donut with a bite taken out of it floating in the sky. Our boy flashes back to a childhood story about rainbows granting wishes. Back then, he completely brushed it off, joking about donuts while his little buddy threw an absolute tantrum over him not taking the magic seriously. Back in the present, the hooded youth stares down the old blind storyteller. He activates his mana vision to read her emotions. Her aura is a steady clear purple. He can't tell if she is capping, but there is definitely some truth to her words. He remembers the bald executive mentioning a creepy mage looking for a rainbow too, which is all the proof he needs. He asks the old woman the million-dollar question. If he finds this rainbow, can he bring back the dead? The old lady just laughs and says the legend promises any wish can come true, leaving our boy completely stunned. She adds that nobody actually knows where these rainbows are hiding, but that is plenty of hope for him. He gives her a quick bow of thanks and dips out, leaving the old woman alone in the alley. Our boy pulls his hood low as he hits the 23rd Street outskirts. He is officially on the move. Crouching behind some trash cans, he double-checks the map. It points him straight to a white sedan parked next to a busted blue building. Right on the money. He remembers his late mentor promising to hook him up with a sweet 4-seater ride. He reaches for the handle ready to finally ditch this dump. But a voice calls out from the alley. One of the rival gang members spots him and recognizes him as the dead boss's kid. This absolute tweaker is rocking a tourniquet and holding a literal syringe. He stumbles over asking if our boy is here to deliver the car and taunts him about his dead mentor. Our boy glares from under his hood. He thought he shook all these losers, but he definitely does not have time to deal with a local crackhead right now. He yanks the door open and hops in. The junkie completely loses his mind and lunges at the windshield, screaming at him to stop. But before our boy can even put the key in the ignition, one of Hector's junkies slams against the window. The guy is absolutely tweaking, screaming at him to open the door and trying to rip him out of the driver's seat. The kid struggles to hold him off, realizing his physical strength is completely tapped out from burning through so much mana earlier. Since throwing hands is off the table, he decides to just throw heat instead. He channels a concentrated burst of pure rage right into his palm. His eye glows with that signature red aura, and he fires a point-blank laser beam straight into the junkie's dome. The blast sends the dude flying backward onto the pavement like a discarded ragdoll. Without missing a single beat, our boy slams his foot on the gas pedal. The tires screech as he leaves the unconscious thug eating his dust. Gripping the steering wheel with a deadpan stare, he finally speeds out of the ruined slums. He is officially hitting the road, driving straight into the sunset to hunt down a literal rainbow. Our boy is cruising through the wasteland in his new ride, disturbing the local wildlife. He pops the trunk to check his stash. Looks like Humphrey actually hooked him up with a solid supply of water. Not bad for a guy who just tried to kill him. As the sun dips down, our white-haired protagonist sets up camp for the night. He figures it is going to take a couple of days to hit the next sector at this pace. He knows mana is not exactly easy to wrangle, but he has figured out a cheat code. If he taps into specific emotions, the magic just flows. He thinks back to the absolute slaughter of his friends, letting that pure rage bubble up, and boom, a ball of red mana sparks right in his chest. But it is a delicate balance. If he loses focus on being pissed off, the magic just slips right through his fingers. Our boy decides to level up his magic game and try combining different colored mana streams. He brings his hands together and focuses hard, but the whole thing just fizzles out into nothing. Chibi Ray is not amused. Turns out mixing colors takes a ton of delicate effort and mental power. He realizes some types just repel each other while others are bound to click. He never really cared about this stuff before, but things are different now. With a literal rainbow reflecting in his eye, he has a real reason to push himself under this massive aurora. The road trip continues through the dusty wasteland. During the day, he takes water breaks by the ride, but at night he is back on his grind. Sitting on the roof, he summons a massive light show into the sky. He practices his ice and wind elements and tries to figure out how to draw up mana more efficiently. Our boy decides to call it a day on the target practice. Chilling on the roof of his new ride, he realizes that constantly pulling mana from his surroundings is a massive drain. If he can just store that juice directly in his own vessel, he would be way more efficient in a scrap. He just needs to figure out how to build those internal mana circles. Meanwhile, back in the slums of Sector 50, the cleanup crew is having a rough night. Hector's goons are frantically scouring the rubble near the bridge, trying to find any trace of that giant rock monster our boy turned into a campfire. One of the lackeys nervously reports back to the boss's car, begging for just a little more time to find the golem. But the guy in the back seat isn't exactly the forgiving type. The shadowy suit just shoves his cane out the window and orders the sweating grunt to grab the tip. The poor guy stammers out an apology, but the monocle-wearing psycho coldly states he absolutely despises people who don't follow instructions. Trembling like a leaf, the goon reaches out and taps the metal rod. Instantly, a blinding surge of freezing blue mana erupts from the cane, sending the dude screaming. The monocled suit guy is absolutely not having a good day. He taps his cane against one of the terrified grunts and instantly freezes the poor dude solid before shattering him into a million icy pieces. He clicks his tongue in annoyance. Moving on to the actual investigation, they check out the massive trench left behind by the golem. The surviving subordinate points out some leftover rubble, but the suit guy is way more interested in the heavy mana still lingering in the air. Following the magical breadcrumbs, he strolls over to a nearby wall and asks if anyone actually lived in this dump. The grunt nervously confirms that this was the local orphan hangout spot. The suit guy pauses and wonders if some random street rat could have actually pulled off high-level magic. A sinister grin spreads across his face as he considers the impossible. Back at the crater, our monocle villain is doing some detective work. A random scream echoes in the background, but he completely ignores it. Adjusting his glasses with a smug grin, he decides there is zero chance some homeless orphan pulled off this level of destruction. He tells his lackey it is literally impossible and assumes a rival mage crashed the party to break his shiny new toy. He orders the grunt to figure it out and struts off with a massive ego. But the suit guy is dead wrong. He admits to himself that if the impossible actually happened, then whoever did it is a once-in-a-generation genius destined to become an absolute god-tier archmage. Right on cue, our boy pops out of his ride looking majestic as hell. He has finally arrived at the gates of Sector 49, ready to start his new life and get insanely overpowered. Our boy flashes back to a tavern chat with his late mentor. The dark-haired boss chugs a beer and explains that Sector 49 is basically the same kind of dump they live in, but supersized. Taller buildings, way more streets, and a whole lot more problems the further up the food chain you go. Cut to the present, and our white-haired ghost finally steps foot into Sector 49. He pulls his hood up and takes in the sights. The first thing he notices is a massive lack of giant killer rock monsters. He wonders if those combat golems were just a special little treat reserved exclusively for Sector 50. Strolling past the local drunks, he checks a street sign and realizes this place is absolutely massive. He needs to hustle if he wants to track down any solid intel on that monocle-wearing mage and his crazy dark blue vessel circles. That guy is public enemy number 1 right now. On top of his revenge checklist, he still needs to research the prismatic colors and locate the elusive city of mages. He pats his pockets and realizes the hush money he got from the suit guy will only last so long. If this road trip drags out, our boy is going to need a side hustle real quick. Our boy wanders the streets of Sector 49 and stumbles upon a brick building with a fancy sign. He reads the words Veronica Bookstore but draws a complete blank. What the heck is a bookstore anyway? Turns out his reading comprehension comes courtesy of his late mentor Niles. Back in the day, Niles used to draw symbols in the dirt to teach him basic words like sun and river. He even tried to get our boy to call him brother, but that was a hard pass. Peering through the glass, he spots rows of weird rectangular objects lining the shelves. He has literally never seen anything like them in his entire life. Suddenly, a red-haired girl pops out of a second-story window and starts screaming her lungs out. She accuses him of breaking the glass to steal her precious books and tells him to piss off. Our boy just stares at his hand, putting 2 and 2 together. So those weird rectangular things are called books. Good to know. The girl keeps throwing a massive tantrum, but our boy is just analyzing her mana aura. He spots a wild mix of red for excitement, yellow for joy, navy for discomfort, and dark green for annoyance. He is honestly just baffled that someone can feel all those conflicting emotions at the exact same time. The girl screams down from the window that the adults are coming to get him. Our boy just stares blankly and calls her a weirdo. This absolutely shatters her fragile ego and she starts screaming about her grandfather. But our guy has zero time for this NPC energy and just casually strolls away. As he wanders deeper into the city, he notices the locals giving him the ultimate side-eye. The street thugs watch his every move with heavy hostility. He realizes they think he is just some random stranger trying to provoke them. Looking at their grimy faces, he realizes this place is honestly no different from the trash heap he just left. Later that night, he crashes in an abandoned white car out in the wasteland. He is pretty bummed that he walked all day and found absolutely zero clues about magic. Just as he tries to catch some sleep, his ear twitches. Footsteps crunch outside. A squad of local goons creeps up to the car with a baseball bat, ready to jump him. Our boy just opens his eyes and sighs. The free experience points have finally arrived. Later that night, our boy decides to catch some Z's in an abandoned car. But his beauty sleep is interrupted when 4 local scavengers decide to try their luck. The brain trust huddles up outside his window debating whether to just rob him or straight up flatline him. The guy in the red cap votes for a quiet takedown so they can score his food and keys. Big mistake. Before Red Cap can even finish his sentence, a hand shoots out from the dark and grabs him by the collar. Our silver-haired menace yanks the dude headfirst through the reinforced glass. The guy gets absolutely folded and hits the dirt completely unconscious while his buddies scream in panic. Our boy does not give them a single second to process this. He lunges right at the hooded thug with zero hesitation. The kid is absolutely terrified as the mage closes the distance and violently slams him into the ground. He just drags the attacker by the ankle like a sack of potatoes and tosses him aside. The last guy standing decides to be a hero and swings a metal pipe right at the kid's head. But the silver-haired menace just catches the weapon barehanded without even blinking. He casually disarms the wannabe tough guy and knocks him flat on his back. He grabs the thug by the shirt with his eyes glowing a terrifying blue and promises to knock his teeth out. The last thug standing watches his crew get absolutely dismantled and recoils in pure terror. The screams of pain echoing through the junkyard are enough to make anyone wet their pants. Cut to the aftermath. The 3 bruised-up wannabe gangsters are on their knees rethinking their life choices. Our silver-haired boy stands over them with his arms crossed. He demands to know exactly which streets they own. His eyes glow with that menacing prismatic energy as he commands them to answer him right now. Our boy stands over the kneeling thugs and casually asks how many streets they control. The guy in the red cap suddenly lunges forward and blurts out that they have 52 members total. But our boy is not buying it. He leans in close, his eye glowing with magic, and demands to know exactly which streets they own. The thug starts sweating bullets and stammers out a fake answer. But our boy's magic is already at work. A swirling green orb manifests right on the guy's chest, reading his emotions like an open book and flashing a massive lie detector warning. Without missing a beat, our boy brings his heel down hard on the liar's hand. The crunch echoes through the alley as the guy screams in agony. The other 2 thugs are absolutely shaking in their boots. Our boy just holds up his bag, glares down at the next victim, and simply says, "You." That is all it takes to break the second guy. He completely loses it and screams that he will spill everything. He confesses they actually control 14 streets and their main base is an abandoned factory. Our boy commands the trembling thug to look up at him. The kid raises his head, absolutely terrified out of his mind. When asked for his name, he stutters out that he is Neshu. The terrified goon stammers out that their boss is watching everything. Right on cue, another thug drops from the sky with a dagger, screaming for blood. But our boy is already a step ahead, his eyes glowing as he channels his mana. He unleashes a massive gust of wind, sending the kneeling goons flying and completely throwing off the airborne attacker. The guy is totally blinded by the dust, leaving him wide open for a brutal flurry of slashes. The would-be assassin hits the dirt hard. Our boy steps on him, grabs him by the hair, and hits him with a terrifying glowing red glare, letting him know that he is not the only one watching. Later, our boy strolls through the bustling streets of Sector 49. He figures these people are clueless about magic, but he is hoping to score some books to learn more. Suddenly, a boot blocks his path. It is a new trio of thugs, and their bowl-cut leader flashes a cocky smile, asking if our boy wants to come with them. Our boy is just trying to mind his own business when 3 more street rats roll up, but they throw their hands up. They are not here for round 2. Bowl-cut over here admits they are with the goons our guy just folded like laundry. Apparently their boss was super impressed with the absolute beatdown he handed out. The kid whips out a folded piece of paper like it is a royal decree. But there is a slight problem. None of these bozos actually know how to read. Our boy just sighs and snatches the note right out of his hand, leaving the trio absolutely flabbergasted that a street kid actually knows his ABCs. The letter is a straight-up job offer promising he will never go hungry if he joins up. Our guy ignores the fine print and asks how they pick their head honcho. Bowl-cut stammers out that the strongest guy gets the top spot. That is all the white-haired menace needs to hear. He brushes right past them and demands they take him to meet this so-called boss. The goons lead him straight to an abandoned factory on the edge of town which serves as the local gang headquarters. The 2 goons lead our boy to their super-secret hideout, which turns out to be just a busted-up abandoned factory. The blue-haired kid pushes open the heavy metal doors. Inside it is absolutely packed. A whole squad of street rats are chilling around a trash can fire looking like they are about to drop the most mid-mixtape of the century. The head honcho is chilling by the flames, rocking a sick dragon tattoo on his jacket. He smirks and says he finally gets to meet the guy who beat up his men. He stands up to give our boy a proper welcome. But our boy suddenly freezes. His magic eyes catch something crazy. The boss is wearing a chunky gold ring that is absolutely radiating with intense red mana. Ray has seen magic junk before, but nothing packing this kind of heat. The boss plays it cool and welcomes him not as an enemy but as a VIP guest. He offers Ray a seat in a busted armchair right across from him. Our boy sits down completely unfazed by the dozen goons glaring at him, silently noting that this kid actually knows how to assert dominance. Our boy takes a seat and immediately starts analyzing the room. He notes that the boss is around his age but already knows exactly how to assert dominance over his crew. The brown-haired leader flashes a cocky grin and praises our boy for having nerves of steel. When asked where he hails from, the white-haired kid casually drops that he is from Sector 50. The entire factory floor erupts into shocked whispers. These street rats cannot fathom someone surviving a solo drive from a place that far away. The boss raises a hand to shut down the peanut gallery. He tells our boy that surviving that trip makes him more than qualified to join their ranks. The hooded kid raises an eyebrow at the word organization. The boss leans in with a smug smirk and drops the big pitch. They are not just some random street gang. They are gearing up to join a massive syndicate from Sector 45 called Merc Red. The leader stands up and puffs out his chest like he just won the lottery. He spreads his arms and asks if joining a super famous crew is enough reason to sign up. Our boy just stares back with absolute deadpan energy. He calmly states that entering a group is not the hard part. Our boy finds the whole pitch cute, but he drops a massive truth bomb. He flat out refuses to work for someone weaker than him. A heavy silence instantly drops over the entire factory. All the thugs just stare at the white-haired kid like he just grew a second head. The gang leader completely loses his cool. He glares daggers at our guy and asks if he seriously just called him weak. Ray is chilling in the middle of this gang's hideout and casually drops a reality check. Back in his old hood, leaders aren't picked by who yaps the loudest. It is all about who can actually throw down. One of the local goons gets totally triggered and charges forward, but before he can even reach our boy, the gang leader snatches him up by the throat. This guy completely loses his mind over being interrupted, his eyes glowing red like an absolute demon. Ray watches this psycho choke out his own minion. He notices the guy is using some kind of red strengthening magic, but with a quick scan from his special eyes, Ray spots the real source of the power. It is that gaudy ring on his finger pumping out all the mana. Ray casually asks the peanut gallery how long this temper tantrum is going to last. A terrified lackey whispers that their boss will not stop until someone is dead. Ray decides he is not sticking around for a live murder. He just snaps his fingers and completely shatters the mana flow inside that ring. The second the ring cracks, the leader drops his victim like a sack of potatoes. His glowing red aura completely vanishes. He just scratches his head with a goofy smile and apologizes for getting a little too heated. Talk about a crazy mood swing. Our boy is not backing down. He looks the gang leader dead in the eye and flat out calls him weak. The disrespect is absolutely palpable. The leader completely loses his mind. He flares up his red aura and lunges forward. He screams at his goons, demanding to know if they think the new kid is stronger. The lackeys absolutely panics, sweating bullets as they swear their boss is the toughest guy around. Our white-haired protagonist just watches this clown show. He notices that when he secretly cut off the mana flow from that flashy ring, the floating table crashed to the floor and the leader did not even realize it. This guy has zero clue that his jewelry is doing all the heavy lifting. The boss rubs his neck, trying to play off his little temper tantrum. So our boy lays down the law. He challenges him for the leader position. If he loses, he becomes a lackey. The boss flashes a wicked grin, totally eating up the idea. He shows off his glowing red ring and declares they will settle this in front of everyone, so the whole block knows who runs the streets. Our boy only cares about one thing right now. He asks where the guy got that magic ring. The boss clenches his fist, his eyes glowing red with pure ego. He tells him he will find out if he wins, but promises that is never going to happen. The next day, our boy is strolling through the city, still obsessing over that glowing ring. Suddenly his spidey senses tingle, and he casually catches a rock thrown right at his head. Turns out he has got a welcoming committee. A bunch of local goons with spiked bats and hammers pull up, acting tough and claiming they run these streets. They tell him not to even think about running. But our guy is not in the mood for a monologue. He tells them to shut up and square up. Cut to 5 seconds later, and the entire squad is taking a nap on the pavement. Our boy sighs, wondering why NPCs keep aggroing him wherever he goes. He figures it out pretty quick. While Kedrick's crew is keeping their distance until the big duel, the rest of the local gangs are getting super defensive. Letting a random stranger waltz through their turf without a scratch is a massive blow to their fragile egos. But honestly, our boy is not complaining. Wiping a little blood off his cheek, he realizes this is the perfect grinding spot. Every time he beats down another squad, his magic levels up. He casts spells faster, uses less mana, and gets way more comfortable throwing hands. Suddenly, our boy senses a stalker. He turns around and demands to know how long this creep plans on watching him from the shadows. A scrawny kid in a cap and glasses steps out of the alley. He takes one look at the gray hair and deadpan expression and immediately recognizes our guy as the infamous Hunter. Our boy is not exactly in a talking mood. He steps right over the unconscious bodies of the guys he just packed up and tells the kid to take off his glasses so they do not cut his hands when he punches his lights out. The nerd absolutely panics. He throws his arms up in an X and screams that he is not here to throw hands. Our boy just stares at him like he is an alien while the kid sweats bullets, pointing out his noodle arms. Gulping down his fear, the kid finally introduces himself as Philip. He extends a hand and tells our boy that he actually came here to make him an offer. The nerdy kid with the glasses leads our white-haired protagonist through the slums toward the eastern garbage dump. He casually mentions that our boy is the talk of the town right now. Apparently, completely obliterating a bunch of local thugs the second you arrive in a new city earns you the edgy nickname of Hunter. They walk up to a massive concrete building that looks straight out of a prison documentary. The kid pushes open the heavy metal doors to reveal his base of operations. Inside it is absolute chaos. It is basically a sweatshop run entirely by children. Kids are tossing shoe polish, fighting over stolen kicks, and desperately trying to pawn off their delivery shifts on each other. Our boy is genuinely stunned by the sheer scale of this child labor operation. The nerdy kid proudly introduces himself as Philip, the owner of the Philip Hotel. He brags that he has exactly 186 residents living under his roof. Ray immediately notices the obvious pattern here. Every single person in this building is either super young or incredibly scrawny. Philip confirms his suspicion and explains that Sector 49 is packed with dangerous minds. Since the adult mortality rate is through the roof, the local economy relies entirely on exploiting the youth. He praises our boy for actually having a brain to match his ridiculous combat skills. The mines are so packed with labor that even the local kids are getting put to work. It is way too much for the street gangs to manage on their own. Enter our boy in the cap. He steps up as a broker, greasing the palms of the local thugs with bribes in exchange for a total monopoly on the workforce. He even provides shelter for the kids. Our white-haired protagonist is actually impressed that this kid built an entire infrastructure from scratch. Right on cue, one of the young workers jogs up to report that his new restaurant gig is going perfectly without any bullies bothering him. Our boy is just standing there watching this wholesome little community thrive. The broker clicks his pen and immediately jots down that he collected this month's rent from the kid. Gotta respect the hustle. But he nearly jumps out of his skin when our hooded youth suddenly teleports right over his shoulder to snoop on the ledger. Sweating bullets, the kid nervously offers up the notebook for him to read. Our boy flips through the pages and lands on a very specific entry labeled Hunter. It is a full dossier on him, complete with a giant red circle warning to approach him as carefully as possible. Caught red-handed stalking the most dangerous guy in the sector, the broker squeezes his eyes shut and screams out an apology. The cap kid is sweating bullets after getting caught taking notes on our boy. He is shaking like a leaf, convinced they are total opposites. But the white-haired mage just hands the notebook back and tells him not to sweat it. The kid instantly lights up, relieved he isn't about to get packed up. They pull up to a guarded door, and the two bouncers immediately start tweaking. They demand to know who the random kid in the hood is. The cap kid hypes him up, dropping the bomb that this is the legendary Hunter everyone has been gossiping about. The guards practically drop their jaws to the floor. Inside, the kid leads him into a surprisingly swanky apartment and tells him to make himself at home. He pops open a safe and pulls out a stash, casually admitting that when he first heard the rumors, he totally thought our guy was a fraud. Our boy just chills on the couch, dropping some cold, hard facts about how losing your street cred is a one-way ticket to the bottom. He cuts right to the chase and asks what this big secret proposal is all about. The kid is still low-key terrified, clenching his fist to stop his hands from shaking. But he swallows his fear, his eyes literally sparkling with ambition, and reaches out his hand. He drops the ultimate pitch, asking the hunter to become his official business partner. The two sit down for a chat and our boy immediately activates his glowing eye to check the kid's vibe. He notices the black mana of fear is gone, replaced by a bright glowing aura of pure courage. The hooded youth asks if the kid really thinks he can win this upcoming turf war. The cap-wearing broker admits there is always a chance he could lose, but his gut is telling him otherwise. He explains that he has a habit of closely observing people to figure out exactly how they tick. For example, he points out that our protagonist always lowers his gaze to look at people's chests instead of making eye contact. The kid assumes it is some kind of deep-seated trauma regarding faces, completely unaware that our boy is literally just reading their magical emotion auras. Before the kid can get back on track, the silver-haired mage leans in way too close. He intensely demands to know exactly how many other habits the kid has noticed. Sweating bullets, the broker stammers out that our boy always steps with his right foot around corners to prepare for an ambush. The hooded youth just stares back, completely fascinated by this free psychoanalysis. Our boy takes a second to reflect. His whole life people just looked at him like he was some kind of broken freak. They called him scary. They told him something was fundamentally wrong with him just because he did not wear his heart on his sleeve. But this kid is actually giving him some constructive feedback. The glasses kid points out that while the local gang leader gets completely blinded by his own rage during a fight, our boy stays frosty. He reads his opponent and calculates every move. Our boy listens closely. He realizes this nerd's hyperfixation on his habits might actually be the exact cheat code he needs to unlock his own emotional growth. Without missing a beat, he stands up and accepts the partnership. The kid panics for a second since they have not even talked about the money yet, but our boy tells him to figure the math out himself. The kid instantly lights up and agrees to handle the books. But our boy is not done. He stops at the door and drops a massive condition on his new business partner. Since the kid clearly has eyes and ears all over the city, our boy needs him to track down some very specific information. Our boy is chilling in a junkyard while a mechanic works on his ride. The grease monkey notes the car looks like it just crossed a desert. That is not far off considering the absolute war zone our boy just drove out of. The mechanic keeps yapping about how much Philip must like him to send a skilled guy like him. Our boy just wants to speed things up. He spots a wrench and some nuts on a nearby toolbox and casually uses his telekinesis to float them right over to the guy under the chassis. Talk about premium service. The mechanic slides out and declares the job done. He brags that he swapped the coolant for some top-tier stuff he secretly swiped from his actual job. He mentions that Philip sent him. Since that little broker gets them all their work, they do not mind kicking back a cut. Before he dips, he hands our boy a folded piece of paper, saying Philip wanted it delivered. The mechanic finishes up the tune-up and happily skips off, leaving our boy with a folded piece of paper. Ray stares at the note with his usual deadpan energy. Turns out he previously asked the glasses kid for intel on local mages. The little informant is super confident, bragging about his networking skills and promising to track down anyone acting even slightly sus. Chilling in his newly repaired ride, Ray is actually impressed. The kid pulled a massive list of weirdos in just one day. We got a baker lifting heavy bags with one hand and a clerk eating dry bread like an absolute psychopath. Ray decides it is time to do some field research. He stalks a chef carrying 2 massive crates of veggies down the street. But after a quick ocular pat-down, Ray realizes the guy is just built different and totally lacks that magical aura. He immediately crosses him off the list. That leaves one prime suspect, a mysterious builder who reportedly dodged a falling steel pipe without even flinching. The notes say this guy hangs around the empty shopping district and constantly hauls food underground. Sounds like a solid lead to me. According to the informant's notes, there is a highly suspicious dude wandering around. A literal steel pipe drops off from the sky and this trenchcoat guy just casually sidesteps it thanks to a perfectly timed gust of wind. Our boy figures there is a massive chance this guy is a hidden mage. While tracking down these leads, our hooded protagonist hears some annoying commotion nearby. 2 local punks are loitering outside the Veronica bookstore, celebrating that the shop is closed. They are plotting to chuck rocks at the building every single day until the owners give up and sell the place. The bowl-cut kid is practically drooling over the double payout they will score if they force the shop to close. He grabs a massive chunk of concrete with a wicked grin, winding up his pitch to show his buddy exactly how to terrorize the neighborhood. Suddenly, the red-haired girl from earlier pops out of the second-floor window. She screams at the thugs to back off, finally catching the rock-throwing culprits red-handed. She tells the bastards to scram, but our boy's magic eyes tell a completely different story. Her chest is swirling with pitch-black mana, meaning she is absolutely terrified right now. The punks just laugh right in her face. They mock her for shaking in her boots and complain that she gets to live in a nice house while they sleep on the streets. The girl grips the windowsill in pure frustration just as the bowl-cut menace launches a rock straight at her head. It smashes into the brick wall right next to her, making her flinch for her life. Our boy is just minding his own business when he spots two absolute menaces harassing the local bookstore. These little punks are laughing it up while holding a literal rock. They taunt the red-haired girl up in the window about how her place is completely defenseless. She tries to act tough, but her mana is practically screaming in pure terror. The hooded hunter watches from the shadows as the main bully winds up his pitch. He chucks the heavy stone straight at her face with zero hesitation. But our guy is not about to let a kid get brain damage on his watch. His eyes glow a piercing blue as he channels his mana. A massive surge of telekinetic energy blasts right past the two bullies. The rock instantly loses all momentum and drops harmlessly to the pavement right at their feet. They just stare at it completely dumbfounded. Up in the window, the girl stares at her own trembling hands in absolute shock. She genuinely thinks she just unlocked the force or something. She is completely frozen in disbelief. But then she locks eyes with the hooded boy down below. His mana is flaring like crazy and the realization hits her like a truck. She just crossed paths with a literal mage. Down on the street, the two local menaces are completely baffled by the sudden interference. The bowl-cut kid stutters that they must have just imagined it and winds up for round 2. But our white-haired boy is watching from the shadows and immediately clocks the lingering mana. That was definitely magic. Up in the window, the red-haired girl is shaking like a leaf as she screams at the bullies to get lost. But these bozos do not care and chuck another handful of heavy stones right at her face. The poor girl squeezes her eyes shut and braces for a concussion. But our boy is not about to let a fellow magic user get brain damage today. He steps up and raises a hand as his signature blue mana flares to life. Instantly, a massive gust of wind erupts through the alleyway. The thugs are caught completely off guard by the sudden hurricane. Before the bowl-cut kid can even process the weather change, his own rock gets caught in the updraft and gets launched straight back into his face at Mach 10. His buddy turns around in absolute shock just in time to catch a second rock right between the eyes. Talk about instant karma. Our boy casually strolls away from the scene, leaving the two bullies groaning on the pavement. The red-haired girl is absolutely stunned, having just witnessed a literal magic trick. The thugs whine about their broken legs at the bottom of the stairs, while our guy does not even look back. She immediately drops into a deep bow to thank him for the save. Our white-haired protagonist is just trying to keep things moving, but she gets right up in his personal space. She excitedly asks if he just used real magic back there with literal stars in her eyes. Realizing she is way too close, she awkwardly clears her throat and invites him inside. They step into the cozy little shop and she finally introduces herself as Veronica. She apologizes for screaming at him earlier, admitting she totally thought he was just another one of those local punks coming to throw rocks at her windows. She bows again, saying she would have been in massive trouble if he had not stepped in. But our boy is strictly business. He tells her to chill with the gratitude because he honestly just wanted an excuse to check out the books in her store. Veronica is completely thrown off by his bluntness, wondering what kind of weird kid she just let into her house. Sitting down for a chat, the redhead explains her grandpa took her in, but our boy only cares about one thing. He leans in with crazy eyes and asks if the old man can use magic too. She nervously agrees to introduce them but says she needs to go upstairs and warn him first. Suddenly, she spots a nasty little cut on his cheek. Our boy barely even noticed it, but she leans right into his personal space to take a look. Her hand starts glowing with a bright light as she channels her mana directly into his skin. Our boy's eyes go wide as he feels the energy washing over him. She pulls back with a warm smile, totally oblivious to the absolute short circuit happening in his brain right now. He violently jumps out of his chair and gets right back in her face. He demands to know how she just moved white mana to heal him. The poor girl is sweating bullets as he interrogates her. See, our boy knows that white mana only reacts to pure selflessness and sacrifice. It reminds him of the kids from the underpass who gave everything for him. He literally cannot comprehend feeling those emotions himself. But the redhead just awkwardly stammers that it is just basic healing magic. Our boy realizes he just slipped up. He flashes back to his old mentor Niles, telling him that normal people absolutely cannot see mana colors, so he quickly pivots and asks if she means the element of regeneration instead. The redhead goes into full professor mode. She explains that healing magic usually just relies on the regeneration element. But if you start counting all the assisting elements like amplification and manipulation, there are easily over 100 different types out there. Our boy realizes this place is an absolute goldmine of information. He asks if her mage grandfather is upstairs. She nods and says the old man is super sick and bedridden, but she runs up the steps to check if he is awake anyway. Left alone, the kid starts browsing the massive library. He spots some heavy philosophical titles and reaches out to grab one, knowing books are crazy expensive in this world. But he stops himself. He looks at his bruised and filthy hands and realizes touching these pristine pages would just ruin their value. He gives his sleeve a quick sniff and immediately regrets it. The last time he actually bathed was during a clean rainstorm ages ago. He wonders if the girl just has a terrible sense of smell or if she was politely tolerating his absolute stench. But before he can dwell on his lack of hygiene, his glowing blue eyes lock onto something completely unexpected on the table. Left alone downstairs, our boy starts browsing the stacks left on the table. He quickly realizes these aren't your average bedtime stories. He spots titles covering elemental distribution and the expansion of the Black Rain. His eyes go wide. This is exactly the kind of high-level magic theory he came to this city looking for. The red-haired girl heads downstairs to check on her guest, assuming our boy probably dipped since she took so long. But the second she turns around, she nearly jumps out of her skin. The white-haired kid is standing right behind her like a literal ghost. She clutches her chest, trying to get her heart rate back to normal. Completely ignoring her near heart attack, he casually asks if she has any books on magic. She is genuinely shocked that this street kid can even read, realizing he is way more interesting than she originally thought. He asks to speak with her grandfather, but she explains the old man is fast asleep. Our boy just nods and agrees to swing by tomorrow. As he grabs the door handle to leave, she calls out, asking why he wants to meet her grandpa so badly. She knows it was his goal from the start. The kid pauses, glancing back over his shoulder before dropping his true objective. He is looking for the prism. Fast forward to 4:30 in the afternoon. Our boy is chilling in the corner of a bustling local cafe, keeping a low profile while he plots his next move. Later that afternoon, our boy posts up at a local cafe to review his intel. He is staking out a mysterious guy living across the street who runs on a strict schedule. The target leaves every morning and evening to grab food before heading straight back down into his basement. Ray is hoping to break in and score some sweet magic secrets while the guy is out. His stakeout gets interrupted when a cheerful waiter drops off his steak. Ray notices the kid's name tag says Joni instead of Tony like his note said, but he brushes it off. Joni is totally fanboying over him. He comps the meal and calls Ray a local hero to the street kids. This kid is so hyped he even offers to leak the cafe's storage password. Ray politely declines the casual treason. Instead, he asks how accurate the target's daily routine actually is. Joni confirms the guy is basically a human clock. For 3 straight months, he has hit that basement at the exact same times every single day. Before Joni can spill any more tea, his manager screams at him for slacking off and the kid scrambles back to work. Ray checks the clock. It is only 5, so he has about an hour to kill before the target leaves for his evening grocery run. Our boy decides to just chill and inhale his free steak while he waits. But right as he is washing it down with a sip of his drink, his eyes suddenly lock onto something outside. His manavision flares up. The target is already on the move. Our boy is just chilling at the cafe when he spots his target strolling by outside. The guy is rocking a trench coat and fedora combo, but more importantly, he has a glowing red mana ring swirling right in the middle of his chest. It looks exactly like the rings that monocle-wearing Psycho had back in the ruins. This dude is definitely a mage. Our boy instantly ditches his meal and sprints out the door while his #1 fanboy waiter screams his goodbyes. He knows from his intel that Fedora Guy leaves his crib for exactly an hour every day. That is plenty of time to snoop around and steal some magical secrets. He creeps down the basement stairs and jiggles the handle, but the door is locked tight. He glares at the knob, trying to figure out a plan B. Suddenly, his own mana starts acting up. Colorful energy swirls out of his hand and flows straight into the keyhole like a liquid lockpick. The door clicks open and he steps inside completely baffled. He stares at his hand, wondering how the heck he just pulled off a master thief spell by accident. He shakes it off and reminds himself to focus on the mission. He scans the dingy little apartment looking for anything useful. His eyes lock onto a trash can overflowing with crumpled up paper. He reaches down to grab one, realizing it is a discarded letter. Time to do some light reading. Our boy sifts through the trash and smooths out a crumpled letter. It is basically a sad diary entry whining about his disbanded crew and how some magic red bloodstone is going to make him stronger. The letter mentions a shady promise to take them in if they hit a quota of 66 orphans. He connects the dots and realizes this trenchcoat guy got booted from his squad and is desperate to buy his way back in. Suddenly his eye starts glowing. He senses a massive wave of ominous red energy leaking out of a container on the desk. He pops the lid and hits the jackpot, finding a whole stash of glowing red crystals. He instantly recognizes them as the exact same jewels embedded in that cocky gang leader's ring. This has to be the red bloodstone the letter was hyping up. He grabs one and realizes it acts like a cheat code for mana, making it way easier to channel. He tests it out and summons the most intense flame he has ever produced. But his little science experiment is cut short. He hears heavy footsteps approaching and realizes the owner of the house is already back. But our boy's snooping gets cut short when the trenchcoat guy suddenly barges back in. Turns out the dude forgot his wallet and is currently having a midlife crisis about his declining brain cells. Our boy flattens himself behind the door, listening as the guy mutters about finally returning to his shady organization once his current job is done. The guy heads back down the stairs, planning a massive grocery run so he can rot in his basement for the foreseeable future. Our boy watches him from the shadows, completely silent and ready to strike if things go south. But suddenly the guy freezes in his tracks. He slowly peeks back around the pillar with glowing red eyes and a psychotic grin. He realizes he has an uninvited guest and decides he might need to pick up some rat poison while he is out. The fedora-wearing creep thinks he is being stealthy, peeking from behind a pillar, but our boy is already 10 steps ahead. The kid lunges forward with his dagger drawn, screaming that he knew exactly where this guy was hiding. He unleashes a vicious slash that forces the man to stumble backward just to keep his head attached to his shoulders. Touch a fresh cut on his face, the man is absolutely baffled. He was expecting some elite assassin from his old organization, not a literal child. He demands to know how the kid even unlocked his door, but our boy isn't here to chat. He lands gracefully and immediately charges right back in for round 2. But suddenly the kid's eyes widen in pure shock. The fedora guy literally catches the glowing blade with his bare hand. A swirling red aura envelops his grip as he glares down at the boy, asking if he really thought he could just point a knife at an adult and get away with it. He grins through the pain, demanding to know why this pint-sized intruder is packing so much physical strength. Realizing he is at a sudden disadvantage, the boy leaps back to create some distance. His analytical mind goes into overdrive as he stares at the man's glowing red hand. He realizes the guy is focusing his mana directly into his skin to prevent the blade from cutting deep. But the fedora guy isn't giving him time to think. He whips out a massive sickle and charges forward, screaming that playtime is officially over. The fedora guy swings his sickle with everything he has, screaming that he is going to rip our boy's face apart. But the kid does not even flinch. He just watches the blade come down and casually catches the sharp edge with his bare hand. The man is absolutely stunned. The kid's hand is glowing with the exact same red aura he was just using. He cannot believe his eyes because he literally invented this metallization magic himself. But our genius protagonist just analyzed the mana colors and copied it on the fly. The kid does not give him a second to process this identity theft. He ducks under the sickle and delivers a clean slash across the guy's back. Before the man can even react, the kid spins around and slices him right across the face, dropping the heavy hitter straight to his knees. You would think that would be the end of it, but this guy is a total psycho. He just grins with these glowing red eyes, assuming his old boss sent a hitman after him. He starts rambling about rumors of an assassin who can copy magic, so the kid decides to shut him up by driving his dagger straight through the man's hand. Pinning him down, our boy tries to lower his voice to play the part of a mysterious interrogator, but the bleeding guy just keeps smiling like an absolute creep. Our boy stares down at the bleeding mage, realizing this guy is completely unhinged. The fedora-wearing psycho grins like an absolute maniac, his eyes glowing red as he decides to just nuke the entire room. He screams that he is going to burn this supposed assassin to a crisp and unleashes a massive blinding pillar of fire. Ray has to throw his arms up just to shield his face from the insane heat. Fully engulfed in flames, the fiery lunatic laughs his head off. He yells at Ray to tell his boss that Walter the Blood-Eye is coming for him. He charges forward like a human torch, screaming that his boss is going to regret abandoning him. But our boy stays perfectly calm. His special eyes analyze the intense red mana spinning rapidly through the psycho's blood vessels. Ray realizes that if he had not protected himself with mana earlier, he would be extra crispy right now. Walter unleashes a massive sweeping wave of fire, screaming for the assassin to try and kill him and take his precious red bloodstones. He charges right through the inferno, fully ready to turn our boy into ash. But Ray just smiles confidently. He channels a vibrant, multicolored aura around his hands and braces himself for the impact. The fiery blast collides head-on with his colorful magic barrier. Walter laughs from inside the flames, mocking the kid for only playing defense and asking how long a puny shield like that can actually last against his ultimate firepower. Our boy is holding the line with his prismatic barrier, but the heat is getting ridiculous. He realizes he cannot get close while this guy is cosplaying a human torch and his shield is running on fumes. Time for a crazy audible. The fedora freak cranks the thermostat and unleashes a massive fire tornado. But instead of bracing for impact, our silver-haired menace just straight up drops his protection. The fiery psycho thinks the kid has completely lost his mind. But you do not fight fire with fire when you have the whole elemental periodic table on speed dial. Droplets start forming in the air as our boy casually summons a massive sphere of water. The flaming lunatic is absolutely flabbergasted, realizing this kid is dual-wielding main magic types like it is nothing. Ray winds up and throws a literal tsunami right at his face. The guy screams in terror as he gets completely swallowed by the hydro pump. He finally realizes this kid is definitely not the standard assassin his boss sent. With the fire extinguished and the enemy washed up, our boy casually strolls away from the puddle he just made. Our boy walks away from the scene completely drenched. He pulls back his hood and realizes he has a nasty nosebleed. That is the price you pay for maxing out your mental capacity and dual-wielding magic types. He wipes the blood away and reflects on the fight. His mana rings moved smoother than ever before. But then he remembers the real final boss, that monocle-wearing suit guy with the massive orbital rings of dark blue mana. Our boy admits that with his current stats, he stands absolutely zero chance of getting his revenge. But he is not giving up. He knows that with enough time and grinding, he can level up and crush them all. He stumbles out of the alleyway and checks his loot. He stares at the glowing red bloodstones in his hand and instantly regrets not stuffing his pockets with more of them while he had the chance. The next morning, our boy rolls up to the local bookstore rocking a fresh fit. The red-haired girl is stoked to see him, noticing he ditched the edgy raincoat for a clean white button-down. It is a calculated move. Our silver-haired menace knows the goons from last night did not get a good look at his face in the dark, but that raincoat was a dead giveaway. He has to stay incognito while plotting his next move. As they stroll down the hall, she promises she kept her mouth shut about his magic tricks. Suddenly, our boy's radar pings. Two little gremlins are peeking out from behind a door, flinching the second he locks eyes with them. The girl dramatically gasps and explains they are just her little brothers. Our boy connects the dots, figuring her grandpa is the one who taught her how to use magic. She confirms it and leads him right to the old man's door. Time to meet the master. The red-haired girl leads our boy right into her grandpa's bedroom and proudly announces her savior. The old-timer looks up from his book and immediately asks his granddaughter to step outside for a minute so the men can talk business. Our boy takes a seat by the bed. The bedridden grandpa kicks things off by thanking our silver-haired menace for chasing away those local bullies. He admits he should have been the one to protect his own bookstore, but his health is basically running on fumes at this point. Our boy locks eyes with the old man and immediately activates his mana vision. He spots 4 distinct rings swirling around the guy, but instead of a clear read, he gets a massive tie-dye shirt of emotions. Red for anger, orange for comfort, yellow for excitement, green, blue, navy. It is a whole rainbow of feelings that shouldn't exist at the exact same time. Our boy realizes this isn't active mana he is looking at. These are permanent colors engraved deep into the old man's vessel from years of emotional baggage, making him completely unreadable. Dropping the small talk, our boy leans in and bluntly states he has been searching for a real mage this entire time. The old man just strokes his massive beard with a knowing smile and confirms our boy's name. The old man realizes our boy is keeping his tragic backstory locked up tight, so he proposes a little game to loosen his lips. He suddenly flexes his magical aura and praises the kid for flinching so fast. He asks if our boy can feel the heavy mana filling the room right now. But our boy is built different. He admits he is not just feeling it, but straight up seeing it. The old-timer holds up a swirling ball of energy and goes into full professor mode. He explains that every spell uses a different element, and the one floating between them right now is called maintenance. He strokes his beard, feeling pretty smug about dropping some high-level wizard knowledge. That smugness evaporates instantly when our boy casually asks about the second element floating right next to it. The grandpa completely loses his mind. He leans in sweating bullets as the kid casually describes seeing 2 distinct shades of gray swirling together. The old man literally falls back onto his bed, clutching his face in absolute disbelief. He realizes he just stumbled onto a generational prodigy without even trying. Our boy just sits there looking completely clueless while the grandpa internally screams about finding a true talent. Our boy casually asks about the second element he is seeing, and the old man is absolutely floored. He realizes he just stumbled onto a generational talent who can spot both maintenance and continuation right off the bat. Instead of just giving him the answer, the geezer decides to turn it into a game. He conjures a swirling sphere of mana between them and tells the kid to try pulling it over. He even offers to place it closer to our boy just to keep things fair. Ray calculates the odds and figures the handicap gives him a solid shot at beating a veteran mage. He agrees to the terms and reaches out his hand as the old man signals the start. But before our boy can even flex a single brain cell, a massive force surges past him. The old man instantly snatches the sphere right out of the air. Ray is left sweating bullets, completely stunned by the sheer speed of this bedridden grandpa. Smiling like he just won the lottery, the old mage tells him to ask his first question. Ray does not miss a beat and asks who taught him magic. Now it is the old man's turn to look surprised, realizing our boy is entirely self-taught. Our boy asks if being a self-taught mage is really that rare of a flex. The old man just chuckles, telling him he will have to actually win a round to unlock that lore. Challenge accepted. Our boy reaches out his hand, dead set on taking this next W. Our boy stares down at his hand and summons another swirling ball of mana. He remembers the old man's rule that this game is all about raw mana control, not the number of circles you have. Realizing he has just been leaking his own stats this whole time, the kid clenches his fist and decides it is time to switch up his strategy. The bedridden grandpa invites him to kick off the next round and immediately launches a massive, blinding wave of energy right at him. But our white-haired prodigy does not even flinch. He just raises his hand and sparks a bright blue flame to counter the blast, leaving the old-timer completely shook. The grandpa notes that his young guest has suddenly changed his tactics. The kid just shrugs and points out there were no rules against actively sabotaging your opponent. The old man strokes his beard and chuckles at the sheer audacity. He then starts dropping some heavy lore, explaining that only a super rare fraction of humans are actually born with the sensory hardware to perceive mana in the first place. The old man drops some lore explaining that just sensing mana does not make you a wizard. Our boy asks if talent is just about manipulating that raw energy, and the grandpa hits him with a cheeky wink. He explains that magic is basically a deep dive into your own psyche. He drops a hard quote saying mana waves to those who are honest with themselves. Our boy takes that straight to heart. To test him, the grandpa casually tosses a ball of wind magic, but he instantly starts sweating bullets when our boy just catches it and stabilizes the spell in his bare hand. The old-timer realizes this kid is casually mastering the hardest element of magic in real time just by feeling it out. Recovering his composure, the old man asks for the next question. Our boy summons a fiery orb and asks about the rings that mages use. The grandpa explains that those circles are basically just internal storage vessels to hold refined mana. Our boy wonders if refining it makes the magic easier to use than just grabbing raw energy from the air. The old man confirms it but drops a massive warning. If you constantly suck up raw, unrefined mana, you get hit with mana poisoning, which basically fries your brain and leaves you laughing like a total psycho. The old man drops some heavy lore. Sucking up raw, unrefined mana is basically a one-way ticket to crazy town. It messes with your head, making you cry uncontrollably or fly into a blind rage until your brain just permanently breaks. Our boy's eyes go wide as the puzzle pieces click together. He remembers the crazed, red-eyed freaks he has fought and the hysterical brawls he has witnessed. The reason he never suffered from mana poisoning while chugging raw energy like a frat boy at a kegger? He literally did not have emotions to poison. He was just a blank slate standing over a pile of bodies. The old geezer strokes his beard, musing that if some freak of nature actually existed who was immune to this mental decay, they would have an absolute monopoly on the infinite raw mana floating in the atmosphere. Cut to our boy mentally floating in an endless ocean of the stuff, basically realizing he is the ultimate cheat code. Changing the subject, the grandpa asks if our boy has a dream for the future. Not the sleepy kind, but an actual life goal. Our boy's eyes narrow with pure icy resolve. He has a very specific to-do list. Item 1, put a permanent end to that smug monocle-wearing freak. Item 2, find a way to bring back the family he lost. As the rain starts pouring outside, the old geezer chuckles. He admits he has heard plenty of edgy kids talk about wanting to kill their enemies, but wanting to save someone is a totally fresh take. He is so impressed by our boy's dual-wielding moral compass that he drops a massive offer. He asks if the kid wants to learn magic directly from him. Our boy is absolutely stunned. The kid immediately gets suspicious. Why would a high tier 4 circle mage want to teach a random street orphan? He wonders if the geezer has some shady ulterior motive. But the old man practically reads his mind and promises he does not want anything in return. That is all the reassurance our boy needs. He accepts the apprenticeship on the spot, and the old man looks like he just won the lottery. Suddenly, the door creaks open. The redhead stumbles in and awkwardly apologizes for eavesdropping. The old man just invites her to sit down and asks if she remembers why he adopted her and the other orphans. She recites that it was to pass down his knowledge as a legacy. The geezer nods and decides it is time for a massive lore drop. He turns back to our boy and brings up the legendary rainbow. He explains that the rainbow is an ancient myth that has had mages wandering the globe for centuries. There are hundreds of wild theories about what it actually is. But despite all the crazy speculation, every single rumor converges on one ultimate truth. Whoever manages to find this prismatic treasure will basically become a god. The old geezer drops some heavy lore, explaining that while there are hundreds of theories about this mythical rainbow, they all agree on one thing. Whoever finds it basically gets to hit the creative mode button and become a literal god. The red-haired girl innocently asks what a god even is, while our boy connects the dots. An almighty being that can do whatever it wants. No wonder that monocle-wearing psycho was hunting for it. But before the girl can ask her next question, a massive shockwave shatters the window right behind them. A giant chunk of debris flies straight for the girl's face, but our white-haired menace steps in and catches the rock barehanded like it is absolutely nothing. Our boy catches the bloody rock right before it clocks the red-haired girl. The window shatters into a million pieces, but she is completely untouched thanks to a swirling barrier of wind magic. Our white-haired menace just glares out the broken frame, absolutely fed up. He literally snapped one of their arms in half as a warning earlier, but these local thugs just do not know when to quit. He watches the two cowards sprint away into the pouring rain. The bedridden grandpa thanks our boy for saving them yet again. The old man conjures a tiny ball of healing magic, lamenting that he is too physically weak to protect his own shop. The girl quickly gets to work bandaging up our protagonist's bleeding hand. She starts crying over the minor injury, which completely baffles our emotionless protagonist. He genuinely does not get why she is shedding tears over a tiny cut. In fact, he thinks getting a facial scar would make him look like an absolute unit, a true mark of honor from his enemies. The old man shifts the conversation back to the lingering mana in the air. As the girl sweeps up the shattered glass, the grandpa explains that these punks have been throwing rocks at their shop for over a month. He rubs his face in pure stress, knowing this coordinated harassment is definitely being ordered by someone higher up. Our boy connects the dots and asks if the old man is refusing to sell the bookstore to these shady buyers. The grandpa lets out a heavy sigh and admits that caving in and selling the place was actually his plan all along. The old man reminisces about opening the bookstore 6 months ago. It was his lifelong dream to run a place like this. He loved the peaceful life of welcoming kids and sharing books. But reality hits hard. He is sick and knows that if he kicks the bucket, the store becomes prime real estate for the local thugs. He admits he has to sell it to protect them. Veronica overhears this and completely freezes up. She absolutely loses it and screams that he cannot sell the place. She grips her skirt tightly, reminding him that this was his childhood dream. The old man just gives a sad smile and drops the harsh truth that the world does not care about your dreams. Veronica breaks down in heavy tears. She does not want to lose the store or him. Seeing her cry breaks the old man's heart. He sheds a tear himself, realizing he dumped way too much trauma on this poor girl. Our boy just sits there awkwardly watching this heavy family moment unfold. Our boy processes the heavy info drop as the rain hammers the brick building outside. The old man is completely out cold. The red-haired girl explains that this nightmare started 2 months ago. Her grandpa is basically paralyzed and can only keep his eyes open for a couple hours a day. She puts on a brave face and asks if our guy will come back tomorrow. She hooks him up with a black raincoat that fits perfectly and gives him a warm smile as she sees him out. Now our boy is basically a sociopath who cannot actually feel empathy, but he remembers how normal humans react to grief. He pulls a line straight out of his mental dictionary and tells her not to worry because everything is going to be fine. It is a total lie, but it hits her right in the feels. She bursts into tears and thanks him as he steps out into the storm. Out on the streets, our boy starts plotting his next move. He knows those rock-throwing punks belong to a local gang, and he is about to make them deeply regret messing with his new favorite bookstore. He sets his sights on the biggest, baddest thugs in the district. Our boy realizes those rock-throwing punks belong to Jeffer's gang. He originally planned to just pull up and handle Jeffer directly, but the toxic black rain is forcing everyone indoors. Time for a quick pivot. He decides to track down his new broker buddy Philip to set up a formal meeting instead. But as he approaches the rendezvous point, he spots a couple of cloaked goons standing guard outside a shipping container. The thugs are whispering about Cedric's gang taking over the spot, while the sickening sound of flesh getting pulverized echoes from inside. Inside the metal box, that hot-headed gang leader with the dragon tattoo is absolutely wailing on someone. Our boy's eye twitches as he realizes exactly who is on the receiving end of that beatdown. It is Philip bleeding out on the floor while the gang leader flexes his glowing magic ring and calls him an arrogant bastard. The tattooed punk gets cut off mid-sentence when a loud crash echoes from the entrance. He turns around with a massive attitude problem just in time to watch our white-haired menace literally kick the steel door off its hinges and send a guard flying across the room. Our boy kicks the door wide open, leaving the outside guards completely laid out on the wet pavement. He steps into the container with those glowing blue eyes, radiating pure menace. The hot-headed gang leader turns around with a maniacal grin and a face full of fresh blood. He casually asks if our white-haired protagonist also has business with his new punching bag. The poor victim is none other than the bespectacled broker boy. He is completely beaten to a pulp and slumped against the cold metal wall. The kid is barely clinging to consciousness after taking an absolutely brutal beating. The gang leader flexes his bloody knuckles and asks if our hooded protagonist wants a piece of the action too. Our boy stares down at the battered broker. Sure, they are just business partners, but the glasses kid did hook him up with some solid intel. Our boy always pays his debts, so he steps right up to the plate. The dark-haired psycho flashes a manic grin. Their official turf war duel isn't until tomorrow, but he is more than happy to throw down right now. Our boy's eyes glow red as he scans the enemy. He immediately notices the guy's mana capacity has spiked massively. That sketchy red ring is basically feeding him magical steroids on loop. Our boy plays it cool and states he didn't come here to fight. The gang leader just scoffs and asks if they are buddies. He mocks the beaten kid for always pitching weird business proposals. He calls him a pathetic leech who just feeds off the strong. Just looking at the weak kid makes him sick, so he winds up and charges forward to finish the job. The poor broker kid is already a bloody pulp on the floor. But before the gang leader can finish the job, our hooded boy slides in with a swift kick to create some distance. The hothead's eyes glow red with pure rage as he skids back on his boots. He is not backing down though. He charges right back in, channeling that red ring energy into a massive haymaker. But our boy just stands his ground and catches the glowing king fist barehanded like it is absolutely nothing. The impact sends shockwaves through the room, but the white-haired mage does not even flinch. The gang leader tells him to scram since this is none of his business, but our boy just stares him down and demands to know why he is doing this. Gritting his teeth, the hothead swings again, only for his punch to get effortlessly swatted away. He stumbles back, red lightning crackling around his body as his mana flares up. Outside, the rain starts pouring down as our boy asks if he just hates weak people. The gang leader touches his glowing ring and admits he absolutely despises them, claiming their weakness just makes him want to hurt them even more. The hothead punches the wall right next to our boy's head, telling him to back the hell off right now. He points to the bloody pulp slumped in the corner, warning the hooded kid that he is next on the menu if he keeps intruding. He wants to make a brutal example out of the broker. Our boy stays completely unfazed. He briefly considers just tapping into his shiny new red gem to end this clown right here and now. But he hesitates, flashing back to the trauma of being laughed at for his weird magic side effects. Instead of throwing hands, he pivots. He tells the angry gang leader that if he really wants to make an example out of someone, there is a way better method. He just needs to play a little game with him. Our boy points out that offing the kid in a dark room does absolutely nothing for his street cred. He paints a glorious picture for the meathead, imagining him standing triumphantly over his victim in front of a massive cheering crowd. He suggests saving the execution for the day of their big duel when all the heavy hitters in the sector are watching. The gang leader actually pauses to think about it, totally eating up the idea of a public flex. Our boy points right at the bleeding broker and promises to take full responsibility if he tries to pull a fast one. The gang leader smirks, totally buying into the hype of a public execution. He heads for the exit but throws one last red-eyed glare over his shoulder, warning our white-haired protagonist that if his new punching bag escapes, he will be taking his place on the chopping block. The door slams shut, leaving our boy alone with the absolute mess on the floor. He crouches down to check if the kid can even form a sentence, but one look at his battered face confirms he is barely clinging to life. With the toxic black rain pouring outside, a random dude in a tank top gets jump-scared by a massive banging on his door. He swings it open, ready to yell about being closed for business during a literal acid storm, but his jaw drops straight to the floor. Standing right there in the downpour is our absolute unit of a protagonist, completely drenched and panting like a dog, carrying the half-dead broker on his back. Outside, the rain is still pouring down hard on the warehouse. Inside, our white-haired boy is just chilling on a bench until one of the workers pops his head out to give the thumbs up. The glasses kid is finally awake. Ray heads inside to check on the patient. The kid is looking a lot better than expected and hits him with a massive smile, thanking our boy for carrying him all the way back here on his back. Ray cuts right to the chase and asks why he was even snooping around Kedrick's turf in the first place. The nerd explains he was just trying to do some early recon on the local businesses so he could send his hotel kids to work there once they take over the territory. He just got super unlucky and bumped right into the boss. Ray admits the kid is way bolder than he thought. He totally pegged him for a massive coward, but the glasses kid just flashes a cheeky grin and rubs his fingers together. You gotta risk it for the biscuit when there is cold, hard cash on the line. But our boy is a walking lie detector. He takes one look at the kid's glowing mana vessel and notices it is shining bright pink instead of the gold color that usually represents pure greed. There is definitely another reason this guy is so obsessed with stacking paper. Ray calls him out immediately and guesses that he has actually known Kedrick for a really long time. The nerd starts sweating bullets and admits he wasn't trying to hide it maliciously. His smile drops as he confesses that they were actually best friends back when they were just little street rats. The glasses kid admits they go way back. A flashback shows the two of them as broke street rats running for their lives after swiping some bread. But eventually they manage to secure a massive empty warehouse to call their own. Our boy with the glasses is hyped to finally open up his little hotel business. He asks his buddy if he likes the setup but gets hit with a massive reality check. The hothead is absolutely fuming. He asks if they are just rats meant to live in hiding forever, leaving our little entrepreneur completely stunned. Turns out the guy was never satisfied and spent all his free time obsessively grinding out push-ups in the dirt. And then about 6 months ago, he just packed up and left the hotel for good. After ditching his friend, he started picking fights on the streets like an absolute maniac. But since he was just a scrawny kid, he was constantly getting his butt kicked. That is until something suddenly changed. Out of nowhere, he got a massive power boost and started brutally choking out grown men with glowing red eyes. Our boy asks if the hothead always had some kind of overpowered item. The nerd assumes he just bought that flashy ring to flex after becoming a gang leader, but he admits his old friend wasn't always this violently unhinged. Ray pieces the puzzle together. He figures out that while the hothead was getting his teeth kicked in on the streets, he must have bumped into our fedora-wearing psycho from the basement. If that creepy dude handed him the glowing red ring, it explains everything. The magic totally corrupted him and turned his eyes glowing red. Ray remembers how the guy started acting like a total edgelord after that. He would just ignore him and glare at him like he was absolute trash. The nerd looks down at his lap while his chest swirls with the pink mana of pure grief. He realizes his childhood bestie literally just tried to murder him. Our boy casually asks if the nerd wants to try talking things out with his old friend. The kid is absolutely stunned by the suggestion. Our white-haired menace asks if the broker wants to patch things up with his old buddy. The kid's eyes light up like a Christmas tree and he eagerly agrees. Ray tells him to tag along to the upcoming gang battle. The broker is hyped for about 2 seconds before reality literally shatters his dreams. He awkwardly explains that only members of the 3 great gangs are allowed on the turf. A nobody like him would get bounced at the door. Ray casually drops that he already RSVP'd for 2. The glasses kid is touched that our boy went out of his way for him, but Ray quickly shuts down the gratitude. He reveals the tiny little catch. If Ray loses the fight, Kedrick gets to publicly execute the broker in front of all the gangs. The poor guy instantly starts sweating bullets. He desperately begs for this to be a sick joke. Ray just stares into his soul and hits him with a flat no. The glasses kid practically shatters into a million pieces, realizing his new boss just bet his life on a street fight. He starts hyperventilating, but our white-haired menace just grabs him by the collar. He tells the kid to chill out because there is absolutely zero chance he loses to some street thug. Internally, our boy is playing 4D chess. He knows that if he saves this kid from a public execution, the guy will be in his debt forever. The glasses kid immediately buys into the confidence and starts looking at him like a total savior. But our boy is not running a charity here. He drops the other shoe and tells the kid there is a second condition to this little rescue mission. He needs him to do a specific job once they actually get to the arena. The kid immediately starts sweating again, realizing he is not out of the woods yet. The glasses kid thinks our boy is just making a sick joke, but the white-haired menace is dead serious. He asks the nerd if he would swallow his fear for a massive payday. He pitches this whole execution setup as a golden business proposal to rake in huge profits. The gears start turning in the broker's head. He realizes that the upcoming duel will draw spectators from all three major gangs. That means a ridiculous amount of capital is going to be gathered in one single place. But the nerd is still sweating bullets. He points out that even if this crazy plan works, they still have to actually beat the gang leader first. Our boy just sits back and casually drops the hardest line. He says even if 100 of them showed up, it still would not be a problem. That icy stare completely shuts down any doubts. Sold on the sheer confidence, the kid immediately slides open his desk drawer. He whips out a fresh document and hands it over. He slaps on a huge corporate smile and calls him President Ray, ready to sign his life away on a brand new contract. 2 days fly by and the sun rises over the absolute dump of a wasteland. It is finally time for the main event. Down at the southern garbage dump, the stage is set for the ultimate showdown between our boy and the local gang leader. The day of the duel finally arrives. The arena is absolutely packed with screaming fans and local gang bosses ready for a bloody show. Our white-haired protagonist steps into the ring of fire to face off against the hot-headed gang leader. The crowd immediately starts trashing our boy. They call him an arrogant outsider who doesn't stand a chance. The gang leader stretches out and soaks up the cheers. Meanwhile, the spectators are practically throwing their cash at the bookies to bet on the local favorite. They know the payout will be absolute garbage. They just want front row seats to watch the cocky newcomer get completely destroyed. Our boy just watches the greed unfold with a calm, glowing eye. The gang leader glares at him and demands to know why he showed up alone. He asks if our boy forgot their little arrangement, but our boy just tells him to chill out. Right on cue, the doors open and the spectacled broker is wheeled into the arena. Right on cue, a familiar face rolls up to the arena. The hotel manager gets wheeled in, clutching a massive black briefcase, leaving the peanut gallery whispering about whether his crew is actually dumb enough to interfere with the fight. The gang leader screams at the crowd to shut their mouths. He flashes a completely unhinged grin and introduces his old buddy as the VIP guest for the post-match execution show. The manager just stares back with a deadpan expression while our white-haired boy keeps his cool. Before the crazy leader can even finish hyping up the execution, the manager completely cuts him off. He pops open the briefcase to reveal an absolute mountain of cash. He announces he is betting his entire life savings of over 2 million shillings on our boy. The crowd completely loses their minds at the massive flex while the gang leader just stares in pure shock. A briefcase full of cash hits the scene with a massive declaration. The glasses kid is betting his entire life savings on our white-haired boy. We get a quick flashback to their scheming session where the kid realizes that dropping a massive bag on the underdog is going to make the crowd lose their absolute minds. And he is dead on the money. The arena erupts into pure chaos as every single thug rushes the bookie to dump their cash on the local gang leader. They are practically foaming at the mouth for a piece of that easy payout. The gang leader smirks and asks if our boy orchestrated this little stunt. Ray just shrugs and says he is half right. The boss is more than happy to take the free cash and screams at the ref to ring the damn bell so he can get to work. The bell dings and the boss instantly launches himself forward with a screaming right hook. Ray easily slips the punch but immediately notices that this guy is moving way faster than a normal street thug. Still, his form is absolute garbage compared to the corporate goons Ray fought before. Our boy grabs the extended arm and decides to just snap it in a single move to end this quick. But right as he locks in the grip, the boss flashes a glowing red eye and plants his foot hard. He whips out a massive spinning kick that catches Ray completely off guard. The gang leader plants his foot and unleashes a spinning kick so heavy it sends our white-haired boy sliding backward across the dirt. Ray is genuinely shocked. This guy is way faster than he had calculated, and the glowing red ring on his finger is definitely doing the heavy lifting. The brown-haired thug is absolutely hyped. He bursts into manic laughter and praises our boy's combat skills. Flashing that cursed ring, he declares that Ray is the first opponent he can actually fight with the intent to kill. Too bad for him, our boy just stares back with a deadpan glare, ready to put this rabid dog down for good. The crowd goes absolutely feral as our boy Ray and the hot-headed Kedrick throw down in a literal ring of fire. Ray easily ducks a wild kick and winds up for counterpunch, but Kedrick is just eating it up with a crazy grin. The peanut gallery is losing their minds over how insane these two are, while Philip watches nervously from the sidelines. They are trading blows surrounded by flames, because apparently regular fighting just was not edgy enough for them. Kedrick screams for Ray to die and launches a massive high kick, but our boy is already 2 steps ahead. He realizes trading blows with this meathead is a total waste of energy, so he decides it is time to put him in the dirt. Ray ducks under the kick, grabs Kedrick by the leg, and hoists him straight into the air. Kedrick panics and grits his teeth as he realizes he is about to get absolutely slammed. The impact sends a massive shockwave through the arena. Our white-haired boy casually dusts off his sleeve like he just took out the trash. The crowd is absolutely losing their minds. They cannot believe a scrawny kid just body-slammed their local gang leader with enough force to shatter concrete. Even the glasses kid in the wheelchair is left completely speechless. Our boy just stands there in the flames looking like an absolute menace while the spectators realize he is way out of their league. But the brown-haired fighter is not ready to hold the L just yet. He lies in the dirt for a second before that crazy red ring magic kicks in. His eye starts glowing like a laser pointer and he slams his fist into the ground to force himself back up. The dude is literally clutching his chest as a massive red aura explodes around him. He is completely tweaking out right now. He grits his teeth and screams that there is zero chance he is losing this fight. Running purely on ego and magic steroids, he launches himself right back at our boy. He throws an absolute haymaker with that glowing red eye trailing behind him. Our boy quickly throws up his guard to block the incoming fist, but he immediately realizes this guy hits way harder when he is throwing a temper tantrum. The heavy strike connects and forces our boy to brace himself against the impact. Our boy throws up a block, realizing this hothead packs a serious punch. The guy launches a sweeping strike that our white-haired protagonist barely catches, knowing he can't just trade blows forever. Cue the flashback to his old mentor dropping some street knowledge. In a fistfight, weight classes exist for a reason. The manic gang leader lands another heavy hit with a crazy grin, and our boy is struggling to absorb the impact even with a magic barrier. But the mentor's lesson isn't over. The secret to beating a bigger dude? A joint lock. Taking the advice to heart, our boy slips right past the next wild swing, leaving the hothead completely confused. He wraps him up and takes him straight to the dirt in a brutal chokehold. The gang leader thrashes around cursing up a storm, but our boy just chills and tells him it is time to tap out. The gang leader is going completely feral. His sketchy ring is glowing like a radioactive mood ring on steroids. Our white-haired boy realizes this dude is about to literally self-destruct from the power trip, so he hops right onto his back and locks in a tight chokehold. The ring hits critical mass as the guy tries to fight it, but our boy isn't playing games today. He just straight up spikes him face first into the dirt. Good night. The red energy immediately fizzles out. Time for the loot drop. He casually slips the overpowered ring right off the unconscious guy's finger. The crowd is absolutely stunned. They just realize their champion got folded and all their bets are gone. Our boy just stands over the body and shoots a knowing look over to his wheelchair business partner. He walks right up to the ref and secures the bag, literally taking the prize box for safekeeping. But hold up, the boss music hasn't stopped yet. The gang leader is somehow still awake. He is shaking like a leaf but stubbornly forces himself back onto his feet. He is panting and completely unhinged, absolutely refusing to accept the massive L he just took. But before he can even try to launch a comeback, the angry crowd completely turns on him. Some salty spectator just chucks a literal can right at his dome. The crowd immediately turns on the loser. They start pelting him with garbage and screaming about their lost bets, calling him a useless disgrace. This completely breaks the kid's fragile ego. He grabs his face as his eye glows with pure rage, his mind flashing back to a dark void of judging eyes. He begs them to stop looking at him like that. But instead of crying about it, his hand literally starts smoking as he grips the wooden barricade. Our white-haired boy and his spectacled buddy can only watch in shock as the sore loser completely snaps. He unleashes a massive wave of fire straight into the stands, screaming that he is going to kill everyone. The crowd scrambles in absolute panic while this maniac just laughs his head off, promising to burn them all to ashes. The arena instantly erupts into a massive inferno. The crowd completely loses their minds and stampedes for the exits as the flames swallow the stands. Right in the middle of the blazing chaos, the humiliated gang leader completely snaps. He just stands there laughing like an absolute maniac while everything burns around him. But the crazy act does not last long. He immediately collapses face first into the dirt as a weird dark aura vents out of his back. Our white-haired boy just watches the pathetic display. Doing the quick math in his head, our boy realizes that trying to drag a dead weight out of this fire trap is basically suicide. He turns his back to leave the loser to fry, but suddenly stops dead in his tracks. He looks back and is completely stunned to see the spectacled broker actually trying to lift the guy who just beat him half to death. The kid is desperately screaming for his old friend to wake up so they can escape together. It is a massive struggle for a guy who literally needs a wheelchair. Our boy casually strolls back over to the struggling duo. He looks down at the broker and asks if he seriously plans on dragging this heavy idiot all the way back to his ride. The glasses kid notices our boy hasn't bailed yet and struggles to lift the unconscious gang leader. He asks for a hand. Our boy is genuinely baffled. This guy almost beat him to death 2 days ago, so why is he playing savior? With a heavy sigh, our boy takes the wheel. He tells the glasses kid to take his unconscious buddy and scram, even offering up his cut of the cash. But he realizes the math ain't mathing. Dragging 2 bodies out of a raging inferno is a tall order. The glasses kid just flashes a warm smile, his chest glowing with that pure yellow mana, insisting he is totally fine. Our boy grips the handles tight. Self-preservation should be priority number 1. A quick flash of his own tragic past reminds him of the cost of playing hero. He demands to know what the glasses kid actually gains from risking his neck for a guy who treated him like garbage. The kid admits he didn't even think about the logistics. Our boy's eyes flare red with confusion and frustration, demanding a real answer. And the kid just drops the simplest truth bomb. They are friends. The glasses kid just smiles. He doesn't have some grand master plan or a secret agenda. He just wants to protect his boy. Our white-haired protagonist is absolutely stunned. For a guy who calculates every single interaction based on pure logic and survival, this blind loyalty is completely alien to him. It is just straight up strange. But looking at Philip sparks a massive trip down memory lane. Ray looks back at the ghosts of his past. The underpass crew who took him in when he had absolutely nothing. He remembers the little kids splitting their precious donuts with him just because they claimed him as a friend. He remembers the older girls patching up his raggedy raincoat while pretending it was no big deal. He remembers the scarred mob boss who literally adopted him off the streets just because he looked like a little brother, and the dark-haired kid who dragged his freezing body out of the snow without a second thought. When Ray asked him why he wasted expensive medicine on a total stranger, the kid just laughed it off. He said he would do it 100 times over. Why? Because they were friends. Ray reaches out into the void. He wonders if he had just tried a little harder to understand them back then, maybe he could have grasped the true meaning of that word. But the brutal reality crashes back down on him. Standing soaked in the blood of his slaughtered found family, our boy realizes the harsh truth. No matter how far he reached, he never would have figured it out in time. Our boy is sweating bullets as he pushes the unconscious gang leader through the raging inferno. The glasses kid suggests they just stay put since the flames haven't reached the center yet, but our white-haired protagonist has other plans. He suddenly starts stripping off his shirt. The glasses kid is completely flabbergasted as our boy just rips the fabric into pieces. Then he casually summons a stream of water magic right out of thin air. The glasses kid's jaw practically hits the floor. He is staring up at the glowing blue water like he just saw a ghost. Our boy hands over the soaked cloth and tells him to cover his mouth so he doesn't choke on the smoke. The glasses kid slaps it on. His mind is completely blown since he didn't even think magic was real until this exact moment. Our boy then ties another wet rag around the unconscious guy's face. He casually mentions that using too much magic just tires him out. With the fire closing in, our boy decides this is the perfect time for an interrogation. He demands answers to his questions right here and now. He throws on his own makeshift mask and stares the glasses kid down. The kid is coughing through the smoke and looking around at the literal wall of fire surrounding them. He is seriously wondering if a pop quiz is really the top priority right now. As the flames rage around them, our white-haired boy decides it is the perfect time for a philosophical debate. He lowers his mask, his eyes glowing that creepy pink, and drops the most robotic definition of friendship ever. To him, a friend is just someone you have known for a specific amount of time. The glasses kid looks back at him like he just grew a second head. Suddenly, all the weird calculating vibes he has been getting from our boy make total sense. Our boy just looks away, completely clueless to how unhinged he sounds. The glasses kid decides it is time for a quick life lesson amidst the inferno. He tells our boy that he is missing the whole point. A friend is someone who helps you out without expecting a single thing in return, and someone you would do the exact same for. He clutches his collar, dropping the ultimate truth bomb about what friendship really means. We kick things off with our boys literally roasting in a massive fire. The glasses kid looks down at his unconscious buddy in the wheelchair and asks our white-haired protagonist if he regrets getting stuck in this barbecue. But Four Eyes here does not regret a thing. He drops a wholesome smile and says he just wanted to protect his friend simply because of who he is. Our boy stares at him, letting that cheesy line sink in. But wholesome time is officially over because a massive chunk of the burning ceiling decides to drop right on their heads. The trio looks up in pure terror, and our boy realizes that unlike his last brush with the Grim Reaper, he might actually get packed up for real this time. His life flashes before his eyes, taking him straight back to that rainy night with the giant stone golem. Back then, his only thought was turning that rock monster into pebbles, but as he remembers the lifeless bodies of his squad scattered in the mud, he finally asks himself why he went so hard. Was it just because he owed them for the food? Nope. A warm vision hits him of the whole gang sleeping peacefully together. He realizes he just wanted to keep living his life with them. With his true feelings finally unlocked, our boy snaps back to reality, stares down the falling debris, and channels a massive surge of glowing mana into his hand, ready to hard carry this survival mission. Our boy finally realizes his true drive wasn't just some edgy revenge quest or paying back a debt. He just wanted to keep living his life with his found family. Channeling that pure desire to protect, he unleashes a massive dome of white magic right as the ceiling caves in. The barrier completely shields the trio from the crushing debris and the raging inferno outside. The glasses kid is absolutely flabbergasted by the sudden magic display. He flinches hard when our protagonist reaches out, fully expecting to catch a stray backhand. But instead of a beatdown, our white-haired genius channels that glowing white mana to instantly heal the kid's busted leg. He then moves right along to fix up the unconscious gang leader's mangled hands. The glasses kid is practically in tears, swearing he will never forget this massive favor. Our boy just hits him with the coldest welcome ever, already plotting how he is going to use these two as his personal pawns moving forward. Our boy heals them up, but he is not running a charity. He internally notes that he needs these two alive to do his bidding from now on. With the immediate danger paused by the glowing barrier, the glasses kid looks around the raging inferno and asks what the game plan is. He wonders if our white-haired protagonist is going to bust out another crazy spell to clear the flames. But our guy just casually raises a hand and says they just need to wait it out. He stands there looking completely unbothered while the gang leader stays knocked out cold in his wheelchair. Outside the arena, the fire rages on until there is literally nothing left to burn. The massive crowd of spectators watches the destruction in absolute horror. The local thugs are completely panicking because their entire base of operations just went up in smoke. The rival gang leaders just laugh it off and blame the whole mess on the unconscious kid. They smugly tell the survivors to figure it out themselves and dip out of there. This leaves the remaining gang members absolutely fuming at the disrespect. Meanwhile, the tank top kid is having a full-on breakdown. He is sobbing his eyes out because he abandoned the glasses kid in the flames to save his own skin. But right in the middle of his guilt trip, he looks up and completely freezes. Outside the burning wreckage, the tank top kid is absolutely bawling his eyes out. He is drowning in guilt for leaving the glasses kid behind to become extra crispy barbecue. But suddenly a heavy footstep echoes from the ash. The kid points into the smoke like he just saw a ghost, and out steps our boy looking completely untouched by the inferno. The crowd is absolutely flabbergasted. Not only is the hunter alive, but he casually strolls out with the glasses kid pushing the unconscious gang leader right behind him. The onlookers literally recoil in pure shock. Our boy just cracks his knuckles with a deadpan stare and tells the entire mob that if they want a piece of him, they can all step up at once. His overwhelming aura is so terrifying that half the thugs instantly drop to their knees and surrender on the spot. Standing tall against the blazing backdrop, our boy flashes those glowing eyes, proving once again that he is the absolute apex predator of this junkyard. Back at the hotel, the local kids are glued to the window bars, wondering what all the commotion is about. A heavy step lands outside. Our white-haired menace rolls up with the glasses kid and their unconscious rival in tow. He commands the massive crowd of onlookers to stay put and wait for orders. But before they head inside, the glasses kid taps our boy on the shoulder. He spots the tank top kid who ditched him during the fire standing awkwardly in the crowd and asks if he is going to come inside. The kid immediately bursts into tears. He feels way too guilty for abandoning his boss to just waltz back in, but the glasses kid just smiles warmly. He tells the crying boy that he would have done the exact same thing and does not hold a grudge at all. The kid rushes in for a massive hug, sobbing out apologies for being a coward. The glasses kid pats his back and turns to our white-haired protagonist, asking if his friend can come inside too. Our boy is completely deadpan. He thinks to himself that this is literally the glasses kid's hotel to begin with, so why is he asking for permission? But he plays along and gives the green light. As they head inside, the crowd starts whispering. They are totally convinced that the legendary hunter just took over the entire hotel and are marveling at how merciful he is for taking in a traitor. Our glasses-wearing broker flashes a warm smile as he and our white-haired boy wheel their unconscious former enemy into the crowded hotel. The peanut gallery immediately starts buzzing with questions about the duel and the sketchy guys lurking outside. But our boy in glasses shuts it down, ordering everyone to back off so they can get the wounded treated first. There is just one tiny logistical nightmare. The infirmary is on the second floor, and wheelchairs do not exactly do stairs. While the broker sweats over how to move him, our boy just bypasses the problem entirely. He scoops the unconscious gang leader up into a bridal carry and casually strolls right through the murmuring crowd. Up in the infirmary, they finally get the guy tucked into bed. The broker sits down and tries to pry into the crazy magic he witnessed back at the arena. But our boy is not about to spill his secrets. He completely ignores the question and just slaps a massive box onto the table to change the subject. It is time to talk business. Our boy rapidly counts out the massive stacks of cash, announcing their total betting earnings sit at a cool 4.2 million shillings. The broker is absolutely floored by his lightning-fast math skills. But our boy is already moving on to his next demand. He slides a fat stack of bills across the table and orders the broker to find them a brand new base since their last one literally burned to the ground. The glasses guy adjusts his frames and tells our boy to use the cash to furnish their new base. But the white-haired menace flat out refuses the extra dough. The broker insists that our boy deserves the lion's share since he did all the heavy lifting today. Our boy just tilts his head like a confused puppy. Why bother taking more than his exact cut? They start playing the world's most awkward game of table hockey with a fat stack of bills. Our boy is genuinely baffled by this weird display of generosity. He flips on his mana vision and takes a peek at the broker's core. He spots a drop in golden greed and a massive spike in white selfless mana mixed with a heavy dose of anxiety. Our boy asks if the glasses guy is worried about him. The broker's brain practically short-circuits. Worried about him. The kid is literally the most terrifying blood-soaked Grim Reaper in the entire sector. The glasses guy sweats bullets and quickly pivots. He explains that splitting the cash evenly just feels right. He frames it as a long-term investment. If he pumps money into our boy now, he can reap the benefits of widespread stability later. That cold, hard business logic finally clicks in our boy's head and he gives a solid nod of approval. But their little financial planning session gets rudely interrupted when the tank-top kid bursts in screaming. Apparently, the local gang leaders Jeffer and Lotson just pulled up with their entire squad. Glasses immediately starts sweating bullets while our white-haired boy doesn't even blink. As they jog down the hall, Glasses notes that the gangs left watchmen everywhere, meaning they were totally surrounded. Our boy just shrugs it off. He tells his new business partner that they were going to have to wipe the floor with these rival gangs eventually anyway. Glasses is completely lost, but our boy just pushes open the double doors and tells him to get ready to receive those investment dividends he was just talking about. They step outside and are immediately greeted by an absolute sea of angry thugs. The bald gang leader Jeffer steps up looking genuinely shocked that our boy survived the arena fire, but he quickly pivots to accusing our guy of starting the blaze on purpose just to steal all the betting money. He puts on this whole fake disappointed act before dropping the real ultimatum. He tells them to hand over every single penny of their winnings, and he might just let them live to see tomorrow. Glasses is absolutely appalled by the sheer audacity of this bald extortionist, but our boy just stares at the guy with zero emotion in his eyes. Instead of handing over the millions they just made, he casually reaches into his pocket and flicks a single coin right at the gang leader's feet. The two rival gang leaders are standing outside with their entire squad. They demand our boy hand over all the betting money in exchange for leaving peacefully tonight. They even have the absolute nerve to accuse him of starting the fire just to steal the cash. But our boy is completely unfazed. He just casually flips a single coin through the air and lets it hit the dirt right at their feet. Looking them dead in the eye, he coldly announces that this single coin is all the earnings they are going to get. The bald gang leader absolutely loses his mind and snarls at him. Our boy tells the bald meathead that if he wants the cash, he better be ready to take it by force. The shiny dome sneers that this is exactly how the streets work and orders his goons to jump the kid. Ray just casually tells his buddy to head inside the hotel while he takes out the trash. Two shirtless bozos charge in with a spiked bat and a metal pipe, thinking they actually stand a chance. Ray knows his body is running on fumes right now, but he figures it will not matter. He slips on that glowing red ring he looted from the gang leader earlier and lets the fiery mana surge through his veins. The first thug swings his spiked bat, but our boy just casually shatters the solid wood with a single glowing punch. The second guy tries his luck with the steel pipe and gets the exact same treatment. Ray bends the metal like it is made of cheap plastic, leaving both of these absolute clowns staring at their broken toys in pure horror. Before they can even process how badly they messed up, Ray unleashes a double strike of pure red energy. He slams both of them straight into the concrete while the rest of the peanut gallery watches their heavy hitters get folded like lawn chairs. The thugs are absolutely shook, but our boy just sits there glowing with that stolen red ring. He tells them to come and get it if they want the cash so badly. Thinking he is finally out of gas, the mob decides to just dogpile him all at once. Big mistake. Our boy unleashes a massive wave of red energy and sends the whole squad flying like bowling pins. He is not even breaking a sweat. With his eyes glowing red, he just starts handing out 2 pieces and biscuits to anyone dumb enough to stay in swinging distance. Meanwhile, the local gang members are hiding behind the trash watching this absolute masterclass in catching hands. They cannot believe this kid is taking on an entire mob by himself without giving up a single inch of ground. One of the guys is straight up blushing at how cool it is. He reminds his buddy that their actual leader is supposed to be Kedrick, but let us be real. They all hated how Kedrick threw tantrums and did whatever he wanted. Honestly, watching the hunter beat the absolute brakes off their old boss was the most refreshing thing they have seen all week. The bandaged-nosed thug realizes they cannot beat our boy in a straight fight and orders his crew to split up and raid the hotel. Our white-haired protagonist is caught completely off guard by the sudden change in tactics. He grabs one of the stragglers as the rest of the mob makes a break for the entrance. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, our boy goes absolutely feral and starts tearing through the crowd to stop them from reaching his friends. The brown-haired thug starts throwing hands with his own crew. He and his buddies are completely stunned by the absolute massacre our boy is causing, but they quickly realize they need to pick a side and charge into the fray. The bandaged-nosed thug tries to rally the troops against the hunter but gets a fistful of knuckles from the brown-haired turncoat. He is left completely baffled as to why his own gang is suddenly taking orders from an outsider. Down below, absolute chaos erupts at the door. The greedy thugs are trying to bust their way in to snatch the cash and the glasses kid, but surprisingly, half the gang is actually following our boy's orders and holding the line. Up on the balcony, the glasses kid watches the brawl unfold, completely flabbergasted that his former bullies are suddenly playing defense. But the attackers aren't giving up that easy. They bust out a massive concrete pipe, using it as a makeshift battering ram to smash through the barricade. The defenders completely panics at the sight of this oversized death tube, and the glasses kid screams in terror as the crazy bastards charge right for the entrance. Just as they are about to blow the doors off the hinges, the massive pipe stops dead in its tracks. The guys holding it nearly snap their spines from the whiplash, looking back in absolute horror as a single sneaker plants firmly into the dirt, completely halting their momentum. Our white-haired menace is standing right behind them, casually catching the giant battering ram with his bare hands. His arms are surging with that stolen red ring energy, and his eyes are glowing with pure unadulterated rage. The thugs just stare at him in absolute shock, completely clueless as to how he even teleported behind them. The desperate mob decides to go medieval and charges the door with a massive concrete battering ram. But our boy just plants his feet and catches the giant pillar barehanded. His eyes glow red as he completely halts their momentum. The thugs struggle to push forward, but it is like trying to move a mountain. Deciding he is done playing defense, the white-haired menace casually swings the entire concrete pillar like a baseball bat. He sweeps away half the mob in a single devastating strike. The onlookers are absolutely flabbergasted. Even the glasses kid watching from the balcony cannot comprehend the sheer ridiculousness of this flex. Tossing the giant chunk of debris aside like a used toothpick, our guy stares down the remaining attackers. One look into those glowing red eyes is all it takes. The surviving thugs completely lose their nerve and scatter like roaches when the lights turn on, screaming that he is impossible to beat. With the threat finally gone, the hunter lets out a heavy sigh and kisses his glowing ring. His eyes return to normal as the adrenaline fades. But before he can even catch his breath, a massive roar erupts behind him. His golden eye flares up in surprise. The entire crowd of former enemies is now cheering his name. They are hyping him up as their new Lord Hunter and celebrating the victory. Looking at the mob, our boy notices a warm orange glow radiating from their chests. He even sees the same fiery emotion burning inside his own heart. He has no idea what this new feeling is, but it is definitely a nice change of pace. But while everyone is busy glazing him, our boy in the cap notices something is off and pushes his way to the front. And just like that, the adrenaline wears off. Our white-haired menace finally hits his limit and faceplants into the dirt, thinking it is a real shame he cannot enjoy the victory lap. Catboy rushes over to cradle our unconscious hero while the medics scramble to get a stretcher. Looks like even a prismatic genius needs a nap after soloing an entire gang. Our white-haired boy suddenly finds himself standing in a hazy, sparkling wasteland. He looks around completely lost, wondering where the heck he is. He takes a few steps forward, realizing this has to be a dream since he literally never gets those. Out of nowhere, he spots a massive mountain of absolute garbage with a blinding light shining right at the peak. He scrambles his way up the debris pile, staring up in pure awe at the brilliant white glow illuminating this weird monochrome world. Mesmerized by the glow, he reaches his hand out alongside a younger version of himself. But the second their fingers brush the light, it completely shatters like glass, exploding into a brilliant rainbow of colors. The vibrant colors completely swallow him up as he floats through the swirling, shattered light. He stares at the crazy prismatic display, reflecting in his eyes, totally dumbfounded, before he suddenly gasps and snaps awake in a cold sweat. Our boy finally wakes up in the infirmary holding his head like he just survived the worst hangover of his life. Before he can even process his surroundings, two absolute fanboys burst through the door, treating him like a K-pop idol. They ask if he slept well and immediately offer to grab him some grub, while our guy just stares at them with zero thoughts behind his eyes. They happily announce that it is past 6 in the evening, meaning he was knocked out cold for an entire day. Deciding he has had enough bed rest, he swings his legs over the side and tells his new groupies he is heading out for a bit. He steps out onto the balcony overlooking the warehouse floor and spots the gang members already getting put to work. He realizes the glasses kid must have been grinding while he was asleep, distributing tasks and getting the whole operation running smoothly. Down below, a few of the workers notice him and immediately ask if he needs a hand with anything. One dude starts flexing his non-existent biceps, claiming they are strong enough to be worked to the bone. His buddies immediately start sweating bullets, hoping he does not accidentally offend their new boss. But the guy is just eager to help out and proves it by casually hoisting up a massive stack of heavy boxes. Our boy looks closer and spots a swirl of blue mana glowing right in the center of the dude's chest. Our boy finally wakes up from his 24-hour beauty sleep and heads downstairs to check on his new empire. But the second his foot hits the steps, he is absolutely swarmed by his new fan club. These guys are treating him like a literal idol, screaming about how cool he is and straight up asking for his underwear size. Ray is completely deadpan, wondering how he ended up running a daycare for aggressive simps. Before he can figure out how to politely tell them to touch grass, a commotion breaks out in the back. A dark-haired kid comes sprinting through the crowd, pulling a scalpel out of his pocket. He charges up the stairs like a total maniac, screaming Ray's name at the top of his lungs. Ray does not even flinch. He calmly tells his fanboys to step back and just watches this kid launch himself through the air. The attacker screams for him to die, bringing the blade right up to our boy's eyeball. But Ray just stares at him with absolute zero emotion. The sheer aura of this kid is so terrifying that the attacker completely freezes mid-strike. He is literally shaking in his boots, unable to even swing the knife while Ray just stands there looking bored. The kid is literally shaking in his boots. He charges in with a scalpel, but our boy easily catches his wrist mid-swing without even breaking a sweat. He just stares at the attacker deadpan, asking if he was actually planning to slit his throat with that tiny thing. The dark-haired kid manages to press the blade against his neck, but he is trembling so hard it is honestly pathetic. Our boy can instantly tell this guy has 0 mana and absolutely no conviction to actually pull the trigger. So he just casually smacks the blade away with his bare hand. The onlookers are absolutely stunned as our boy lets out a heavy sigh, his eyes flashing a dangerous crimson. Channeling a surge of red energy into his grip, he forces the kid's arm straight up into the air, completely disarming him as the scalpel clatters to the floor. The attacker is left completely paralyzed with fear. Our boy just tells him to knock it off and follow him, because they clearly need to have a little chat.